time. Greetings, brothers and sisters from around the world. Pull up a chair. It's time to get down to the business. I am, of course, your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And without further ado, I'm not even going to play around here tonight. Now, I want you all to understand something right here. Tonight's program, I'm just going to be straight up the middle about it. I'm pulling no punches. Black Motherhood is dead. Black Motherhood is dead, and you need go no further than Miami, Florida to get absolute proof of that. This is something that I witnessed myself while down in Florida recently. This is something I saw myself. What you're seeing on your screen right now, this is exclusive footage that came from me. I was down there in no other spot was I down there in but in Brickell. Down there in multi-billion-dollar development that everybody's talking about, whatnot down there next to they're building the Aston Martin condominiums over there on the left-hand side of the screen. You can see that. Right there, down in the middle of it, Biscayne Boulevard. You all, my folks down there in Miami, you know what's going on. Right there, Bayside, Biscayne Bay, you get it. And while I'm sitting down there in the middle of all that, while you're sitting right down there in the middle of all of it, and you would think that they've priced it enough and done enough to go ahead and keep out the riff-raff, or at the very least, but you gotta understand, hoes like nice things too. Hoes like to hang out where sensible folk are. They don't qualify, but they sure as hell want to be around sensible people. Even hoes don't like to hang out with other hoes. Yes, Aston Martin. Go look it up for yourselves. The Aston Martin building. They're building condominiums. They don't just build cars. Anyway, so well, I'm down there to go and see what the environment really is and whatnot. And don't worry, I got footage. Now, for all my folks, by the way, for all my folks who are on Patreon, all my patrons already know what's going on. All my patrons already know what's happening with some of this. You've already seen it. So for those of you who are on YouTube and whatnot, just understand we ain't hating on you. It's just about understanding that, you know, you might be a little bit behind on that. But I'm out there and I'm watching and I'm taking in what's going on, and I look out my window. Dozens of stories up, and lo and behold, I'm looking across the bay, and this is what I see. Looking across the bay, and this is what is greeting me. I'm sitting there looking at it and can't believe, do my Humpty eyes deceive me? I see what appears to be a little boy. Hope it's not a little girl. You know how thoughts do it. And I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm like, is this real? And by the way, this was just one. I actually saw several. This is what they do. They go down there to Miami. It's like 6 or 7 females rent a room. 6 or 7 dudes rent a room. They're all piled up in there. And as you can see, she's pulling on her thong right there in front of him. She's pulling on it. And this, floor after floor, taking selfies like that. Black Motherhood is dead. I just want you to be aware of that. I'm not going to pull any punches about it. I'm not going to play around about it. As we stand here right now and take a look at the situation today, it's dead. It's a dead issue. It really is. I don't know what more you want me to say. I don't know what more you're looking at. You tell me about this Oedipal complex that now signifies the female culture today. Now, this was just me. This is my footage that I took at random in Brickell, of all places. Just understand that. Now, I got some questions here to ask tonight. First of all, I want to know who is the nigga who got this heifer pregnant. That's what I want to figure out. Who the hell did this? I want to know who did this. I want to know who raised this. First of all, who raised this broad? Second of all, who got this pregnant? Who brought this here? Who did this? I want to know that. And yes, there was a guy around, as a matter of fact. There was some dusty looking fella around somewhere. There was some dusty looking fella around somewhere, and they bring their children to this. You know why? Because they ain't got a man. You see, the problem is, if you're going to go take the single motherhood epidemic is fueled by females who go and deliberately target deficient males because those males are playmates. And when real things jump off, then they get upset about this. But they go looking for weak males. And then if they do have a son, they raise the son to be a weak male because weak males don't leave raggedy broads. Weak males stick around with raggedy broads. They're not dumb about it. They stick around with them. They know their limitations. And destroying and spoiling the next generation is exactly what they do and exactly what they're experts at. And that's the reality of it. More concerned about seeing who's the next dude she can get ready to flop on top of, and she doesn't even have girlfriends that she can use to be able to help her with her thottery. She doesn't even have girlfriends she can use for that. She's got to go and recruit this kid for that. That's a damn shame. It is a damn shame. We're out here talking about motherhood. We're out here talking about motherhood and out here talking about wifehood. And I'm just here to tell you that based on my first-hand observations, that's a done deal there, dude. You can forget that. That's a done deal. That's a done deal. If you want to define it that way. If you want to use the words motherhood, it's a done deal. But don't look for these folks to sit up here and talk about this. Don't look. The real shame of it today is the females don't get together and they don't talk about any of these things amongst each other. They don't talk about it. They don't discuss it. There is no introspection about it. The women are not taking each other to task at all. They're just like, let it burn. Ladies, I just got to say it like it is. The females today have taken an attitude of just let it burn. It's going to hell, and none of them really qualify for a man anyway. So their attitude about it is just screw it all. Just let it burn. They have completely and utterly and totally given up on themselves. They've given up on themselves. They're done trying. They're done working. They're done. The idea of being respected is a foreign concept today. They've basically made it to the age of sexual majority and they are through. They've made it to the age of sexual majority and that is it. If it doesn't involve sex or a sex act, they are just literally checked out and not interested. They don't have the ability to define themselves outside of it. And they don't have any boundaries. Now, that's the part that is most disgusting. They do not have any boundaries today. I've talked about this for years and years now. This is because these are unwanted females. These females are sexable but unwanted. And because they are unwanted, that doesn't turn off their sexual proclivities. So what they wind up doing is they wind up focusing these sexual energies that are supposed to be directed towards a grown man, but because they are incapable of acquiring, attracting, or retaining an actual man, they end up, and because they engage in little slut behavior, they end up instead resorting to focusing that sexual energy towards children, towards the males in their presence. And there are no boundaries. There are no boundaries. And women don't check each other on this stuff. Men mention it and the females are just like, you know what, forget that. because we just got to call it for what it is. What has happened is you have an environment today where the females are like, you know what? If it's going to be a cesspool, we'll be the queen of the ashes. We'll be the queen of the trash pile. If it's going to be a cesspool, at least we'll be the ones running it. If it's going to be a cesspool, we'll be running it. And that's where it is today. Now, somebody knows who this thought belongs to. Somebody knows the dude who got this pregnant. Somebody recognizes this heifer. I feel like doing some police work here. Is there anybody who recognizes any of these incriminating tattoos? Have you seen any of those? I'm wondering. Does anybody recognize any of these incriminating body marks on this chick? Somebody must recognize something and point us in the direction of, okay, now who exactly is responsible for doing that? That's the question I want to know. Who's responsible for it? Ladies, do you think that you're going to be able to galvanize widespread respect under these circumstances? Do you think that you're going to be able to gain widespread respect as females under these circumstances when this is what you all allow to occur? You don't check each other. You don't correct each other. Not on anything of substance. You enable each other in your silliness. You enable each other in your foolery. You do not have standards. And then you complain about what the men will not do. Ladies, you all need to look around at each other and start asking yourselves a question. Are you worthy of it? As a group, you need to start looking at yourselves and saying, are we worthy of respect? Are we worthy of decency as a group? You need to start having a come to Jason moment and saying, you know what, as black women, we don't check each other on anything wrong. We enable each other because we believe that we are so addicted to being in control that we've reduced black society to a landfill, and we're perfectly fine with it as long as we get to, quote, be at the top of the garbage pile. And unfortunately, that is the real reason why black females as a group do not check each other. It is not because they are afraid. It is because they are afraid of losing control and losing power. They would rather see black society where it is right now, dysfunctional, backwards, screwed up as hell, as long as they are in control of the dysfunction, than to see it corrected and prosperous, and they have to actually earn a position in it. They would rather see it in this broken, squalid condition. We don't have a generation of honorable grandmothers anymore. We now have the leftovers and the wreckage of the 35-year-old grandmothers. Grandmothers used to be senior citizens before they became grandmothers. Today, just as soon as their sex organs can start procreating, they're already out there. So we are watching the second generation of 35-year-old grandmothers, 50-year-old great-grandmothers. That's what you have now, with someone trying to tell the men that we need to respect that. And then being upset when the men do not even your own sons, respect that. Let's just be very, very clear, ladies. You can't turn your son into your husband. Oh, that's going to hurt your damn feelings. But let's just be very, very clear. You can force yourself to be his mother, but you cannot force yourself to be respected by him. Oh, you can force him to be your son, but you cannot force him to respect you. And so many of you, you're so devoid of any likable qualities that you raise your children to be your friends, and then your children start disrespecting you. Your children grow up to be the type of males and females you don't want. And then you're like, okay, well, let me see if I can flip a switch and correct it. And it doesn't work. There's a reason why your children, as soon as they get a chance, you take a look at the NBA, they go off and go get them some white girls and leave their mama where they found her. Oh, you got a few of them who've successfully mind bent their sons, but by and large, these fellas, they turn their asses up at their mothers as soon as they get an opportunity. They turn their asses up as soon as they get a chance. It's not accidental. It's not a fluke. It's not a mistake. It's predictable. You are not going to be able to transform your son into your husband. You can sit there and play that little sexually abusive game, but that's not going to work. And let me be very, very clear. Unfortunately, and chat room will bear me witness. The chat room will bear me witness. Those of you listening will bear me witness. Oh, this is going to be a painful thing to discuss here tonight. But I want to know how many of the fellas listening to me right now, how many of the females listening to me right now, I got one question to ask you right now. How many of you, this was your mother? How many of you listening to me right now today, you are teenagers or in your early 20s, and this is your mother? That your mother cannot define herself outside of sexuality, and that without that, she is a dead organism, and that unless it is in a sexual way, she doesn't relate to anyone. She doesn't interact with anyone except on sexual terms. How many of you listening to me right now, this is your mama? This was your mama. How many of you can be honest with that? How many of you can sit there and say that? How many of you, this is one you knew in the neighborhood? You had one in the neighborhood. That there's a female in the neighborhood you directly knew. Hell, a bunch of them. If it wasn't your mama directly, you directly know by name someone on the block, this was their mama. And they are grown today. Those kids are grown today and as screwed up as they can be. Screwed up as they can be. Today. The girls and the boys. How many of you are seeing that? How many of you have lived through that? How many of you have witnessed that? I want someone to explain to me, under these circumstances, you tell me what part of Black Motherhood is still alive. Where's Mary McLeod Bethune, Coretta Scott King, Betty Shabazz, Ida B. Wells? They have contempt for that. The black females of today have utter contempt for respectable black womanhood. They have turned against respectable black womanhood. So you really only got two types of females today: those who are engaged in thottery and those who defend it and condone it, either directly or through their silence. You have the sisterhood of failure and the sisterhood of whoredom, but you do not have a generation of black women who are attempting to define themselves through being respected, being revered, being honored, not being, I've said this before, that in today's generation here, most black males are not offended by not being the older black males. The older black males are not ashamed that they are not respected. That when they walk down the street, nobody looks at them with esteem or reverence. The black females, it doesn't bother them that nobody respects them at any age. It doesn't matter whether they're 20 or 80. They just have given up and abandoned the idea of being respected altogether. They've just given up on that. They've just given up on that altogether. And how many of you have grown up with that and seen that? How many of you? We want to talk about Black Motherhood is dead here tonight. And we really need to discuss womanhood as well, because that's another thing that is problematic about it. That is another thing that is problematic about it. Under these circumstances, it is problematic about it. And I want you to understand why that is. Among other things, and I know I am going to offend some sensibilities right now, but among other things, not just black womanhood, but not just black motherhood, but womanhood period. Womanhood period has become a damn joke today. And they don't believe that men should have standards of any kind. And any damn piece of raggedy baloney that is flung off the table at us, we're supposed to just sit here and be okay with it. This is Miami, by the way. This is Miami. This is down at Bayside. This is what I witnessed in person at Bayside. Don't let anybody from Fresh and Misfit sit up here and tell you what's really going on. I can show you what's really going on down there. And let me tell you, it's a spectacle to behold if we really gonna keep it real. Because if you let these folks tell you there's wife material on every damn corner out there, that's not really the reality, if we're going to be totally honest about it. We have been thrust into a situation where there's no standards. We have been thrust into a situation where the females have checked out of holding each other to any standard whatsoever, and that's how you get here. That's how you get here. I guess, though, if you tell yourself that, well, I can pay for my own apartment, why do I need to motivate a man to do that for me? If I can pay for my own apartment, I can just look as raggedy as I wish to be, and I will take any cast-off male who comes along. I'll just take him for my emotional gratification. Yeah, but ladies, here's the problem. If a man doesn't respect you, you can tell yourself that sex and emotion are the same thing, but when you see that he works and sacrifices for another female and does not work and sacrifice for you, then you're going to feel some kind of way. You have to be a female they can respect. And ladies, how you keep your body and what you do with your body is going to explain that to us. If you're sitting here built like a snow cone and telling yourself that you can put the tramp stamp on yourself wherever in the hell you want to. I don't know who you're inviting to the barbecue, but trust me, it's going to be slim pickings and small attendance. And this is in Miami, by the way. This is Miami at Bayside. This is what's being offered up. This is Miami at Bayside. You want to know what body positivity, do you know what they really think it means? They told themselves that body positivity means everybody gonna get a man. And what they really found out is that body positivity really just equals all of you gonna be single. That's what's gonna happen. They thought that body positivity was gonna work out like communism. Everybody's gonna be equally rich. But no, instead it worked out like communism. Everybody's gonna be equally poor. And that's what really wound up happening. Everybody now is equally poor. Everybody now is equally destitute. Everybody now is equally single. And just understand, yeah, you can sit up here and walk out there and whatnot and be built like a marshmallow. Sure, I suppose you can go ahead and do that. This doesn't turn out very, very well. All that ends up happening is the one or two females who are not, the rest of you are going to find some bummy dude you can double and triple up on, but that's going to be it. That's going to be it. Oh, no. I am here to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. They talking about Jason, move the camera. If I do, it's going to be to show you more. I'm here to show you the seamy underbelly. And just understand, those are future baby mamas, if they're not already. The cellulite sunk in. The tattoos on their breasts and their thighs and their backs and their backsides. And then they're all down at the beach. You got dimes and pennies all down there at the beach intermingled. The dimes do not call out the pennies and tell them, hey, you big baggy hoes are messing up the bag. The dimes don't do that. That's another reason why Black Motherhood is dead. The females, if y'all want to know, you've lowered your own value. When you don't have standards for other women, don't expect the men are going to have higher standards than you have for each other. When you all make it acceptable to do that, then just understand it gets worse. Just understand that. Oh, yes, I mean, as raggedy as they can be right here. And this is Miami. Take a look. There'll be some dudes trying to holler. This is Miami. Shameless. And they will tell you ain't no good men. They will tell you what good women they are. Ain't no good men. They're going to tell you how much fellas love this, by the way. Let me go ahead and remind you. These same chicks here will sit up here and tell you that fellas love this. These same females will sit here and try to badger everybody and tell everybody, oh, the guys love this. The fellas don't mind my tattoos, my hair. Okay, where are the fellas taking y'all up? Just squads, roaming squads and bands of stray alley cats. I know folks are taking all of the terms that I pioneered. Stray cats, pump your brakes. All right, you're never going to see me hawking incense. But in any case, these chicks are going to sit up here and try to tell you, oh, the fellas dig this. The fellas love crazy colored hair and fake hair. They don't mind me being a size 12, 14, 16. My fat fell in the right places. Okay, but if your fat fell in the right places, here's my question. My question is, if your fat fell in the right places, where are the men taking you down to the beach? All I see is you with a bunch of other chicks. That's all I see. And it doesn't matter how light-skinned, how mixed, how triracial, biracial. It doesn't matter dark-skinned, light-skinned. It doesn't matter how good the weave is put in or whatever. There are no takers. The females have become mentally and emotionally imbalanced to the point that now they're engaging in narcissism, but they're engaging in a same-sex narcissism. So the females are going around giving each other encouragement, but there are no men doing it. There are no men doing it. There are no men looking here to take up Kamala the Ugandan midget up on her offer in orange over here. Nobody's looking to take her up on it, and nobody's looking to take her friends up on it. And as you can see, I'm within spitting distance of all of them. There was nothing between me and them but air and opportunity. But I wasn't crossing that great divide, and neither was anybody else, because there ain't nothing to cross for. Now, if I may, you can see a young lady right there, as a matter of fact. She got a dude. She's not overweight. She ain't tatted up. She doesn't look like something that the cat drug in on a rainy Saturday evening. She's got a dude. And a valuable lesson goes unheeded. Yikes, there goes another one. So, valuable lessons going unheeded. Ladies, the marketplace has spoken. The men are voting with their wallets and with their feet. That is what I'm trying to tell you. The men have voted. They have cast their votes with their wallets and with their feet. And you're just left without a chair when the music stops. And this is where the baby mama epidemic really comes from. A generation of dysfunctional, emotionally unhinged females who are trying to define femininity by the lowest common denominator, and they can give birth to sons that they can inculcate in this Oedipal complex, but they are unable to get a man who actually has the ability to get up and walk away to commit to this mess. That's the problem. They're unable to get a man who actually has a choice in the matter to commit to it. That's why I tell you that Black Motherhood is dead. Black Motherhood is dead today, unfortunately. And when you go around and whatnot, you can find, it doesn't matter where you go here and stuff. All over when I was down there in Miami, and this is footage from Miami, for those of you just joining me here, I had footage from Miami right there, right around the corner from Brickell. And you take a look, hoes with the preamble of the Constitution printed on their backs. Don't know how you figured that was going to be good. They'll sit up here and tell you that men love the weaves and men love the fake hair, and it's just a bunch of raggedy chicks walking around with each other. They're not with men. They're just walking around with each other. They're by themselves and just walking around with each other. With their damn prison tats and everything else. And the best they can get out of it is a couple of bastard kids by some overgrown juvenile delinquent. But they're not even dumb enough anymore to ask why the men don't respect them, by the way. That's another thing. They used to ask why the men don't respect them. They're not even dumb enough to ask that anymore. They used to ask that. They don't even say it anymore. I'm here tonight to talk to you all about why Black Motherhood is dead. I want to talk to you all tonight about why Black Womanhood is dead. And one trip to Miami will illustrate for you why it is. Your mamas are out here getting butt implants and butt injections. They're not doing any muscle toning, by the way. No trips to the gym. They'll get liposuction. No trips to the gym. Trying to rehabilitate. They talk about dad bods. What about these baby mama bods? Can we coin that phrase, baby mama bods? And you can go ahead and take a look at them there. They done gave birth and gave up. In roving packs with males who might as well be wearing thongs. But this is what happens when your young boys taking pictures of their mamas in their drawers. That's what happens to them. If you want to know what in the world becomes of those young males whose mothers do this to them, if you want to know what becomes of them, this is what becomes of those boys when they get older. This is what they grow up into. Look at them switching their hips. They don't walk like men. You see the way Denzel Washington walks, and then take a look at these soft, moist, effete excuses. And that's what they were turned into. That's what they've been made into. And they started like this. They started with a raggedy, over-sexualized, careless female who was solely put in charge of his development. And all she could really do was try to get him to desire her for all the things that she failed to be able to get a man who could make a choice to desire her for. And that is it. And the females today have such low regard for each other that they won't even call each other out for looking ridiculous. There is no standard for ridiculous anymore. Oh, I'm making a lot of damn enemies tonight. It's a good thing that I make my own money, and it's a good thing that I'm financially stable on my own, because I couldn't do this otherwise. I couldn't do this. It's a good thing I've got my own finances and my own capability. Otherwise, I would not be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to show you this kind of stuff and bring this to you over and over again for you to see this. So you can see that this is what folks are really dealing with. You're going to have folks up here and tell you that we should be proud of females who turned this into your next generation of the warrior class. Do these niggas look like they're ready to fight anything? And this is your reward. If you're a black male who makes six-figure income down here in Miami, understand that. Down in Miami, right around the corner from Brickell, Bayside, there it is. Well, you go make a six-figure income. This makes seven figures. Go make $250,000 a year. Here's your reward. There they are. I mean, whole packs of them. Fellas, line up to start your harem. Go ahead and get your chips up. Start making $250,000, $300,000, $500,000 a year. Start your harem. If you don't mind your harem having been previously picked over by the gutter dudes, if you don't mind getting a second and third hand, hair weaves and everything else. Oh, yes, I'm going to keep repeating that for you there. Hair weaves and every damn thing else. built like a soda bottle, a 3-liter, and look at the look on their faces. They're arrogant too. I mean, they think they're killing the game. And take a look at how long the eyelashes are on this chick with the plaid fishing hat on. Take a look at how long the eyelashes are. You could sweep floors with those eyelashes. And they're not eyelashes, that's old fake crap. You could sweep floors with it. And all of her other friends too. And they think they are killing the game. What type of dude you think you're going to get? These kind right here. Because that's all you qualify for. You qualify for some broke, dusty lames, and that's it. Because you're a broke, dusty broad in mind, in spirit, and in finances. Your finances simply reflect what you are on the inside. And the younger chicks can't do no better because the older chicks, that's all they can do. No, when you go around these places, all you see are a bunch of broads with other chicks and a bunch of kids. A bunch of females with a bunch of other chicks and a bunch of kids. And then telling us that there aren't any available men, that the men aren't serious. They will sit here and tell you the men ain't serious. This is down in Miami now. Now, I went on the ground. I am not one of these people sitting up here trying to promote something that ain't real. This is what's actually on the ground in Miami. This is actually footage taken on the ground. So you can see what's really happening. So you can see what you'll really get if you show up there. But this idea that there's a dime on every corner and the females came dressed to impress and they're all ready to rumble. Well, they might be ready to rumble, but they're making the ground rumble first. Let's be very, very clear about that. No, they're not ready for battle. They really ain't. They're really not. But they're going to complain and tell us about what the men ain't doing. That's what they're going to tell you. In the chat room, J. Joe, that's what I do. If you're a member of my Patreon, we explain it over there. Go listen to every Get Your Weight Up Wednesday. You learn the rules. You get your finances together. You focus on perfecting yourself. You focus on getting yourself stable. Then you go out into the world, and if you got something abrasive to say or do, now you're insulated. But you can't be working on getting yourself together and then think you're going to be immune. Because the folks who hate you telling the truth, they think they're going to punish you for it. Ain't going to happen. Not over here. Not over here. Now, as you can see, it was a very full day. And as you can see, I'm not running through the place all fast. But you can also see, yeah, everything's built like a spinning top. Tatted up, hood ratted up, hair matted up. Tattoos all over the damn place. And these females are from there and parts unknown, parts abroad. No, they didn't spend none of the quarantine time working out. They spent the whole pandemic eating. They did not spend one day. They were at home and just munching by the hundreds, by the millions. And as soon as they opened up the cities and let them go back to the beach, they went to the store and brought their big jiggly asses out. And I'm talking about, they're out here in bikini tops, y'all. They're out here in bikini tops built like a pile of mashed potatoes. Shameless. You tell me, who are the men who are supposed to be motivated by this? Shameless. And there are no females to call them out and say, hey, sis, you need to do better than this. Because the females are like, well, hey, if we're all thrown off and messed up, then the fellas will they gotta choose one of us, right? That's the mentality today. The females believe that if all of them just don't give a damn, then the fellas will have to choose one of them, including the producers. Yeah, you can take a look at it. I mean, their fake hair and everything. These are the same chicks who will tell you that men don't mind the way they're built. I'm fat in all the right places. You don't understand. I'm fat in all the right places. Yeah, I'm a size 12. I'm a size 14. But I'm fat in all the right places. That's what they'll tell you. if you let them tell the tale. That's what they'll tell you. No wonder the females are together here. Take a look at Oopa Loopa there. The back fat on this one here looking like Jabba the Hutt or Pizza the Hutt. And look at it, a whole squad of them. There are so many throwed off, baggy built. This heifer is built like a grocery sack. So many baggy built broads today. They're roaming around like bison across colonial America before the Europeans came and killed them all. I mean, just squads of them. It used to be that you found one really fat chick and that was it. If you could get around her, you'd be okay. Now they're just everywhere. Built like men on a mission. For those of you who remember your 90s WWE wrestling. Squads of them. Packs of them. At Bayside. Take a look at Bayside, right outside of Brickell. Most expensive development in Miami, right outside of it. And these are their post-pandemic bods on display. They're out there with females. Miami is famous for the bikini scene. Y'all, the bikini, we need to update the files on what's really walking around down there. We need to update the files. Take a look. It's not just one or two, and they walking straight toward Haagen-Dazs. I hope he's ready. I hope the dude at Haagen-Dazs is ready. You can see these two pachyderm are making a beeline straight for Haagen-Dazs. I hope dude is ready. His arm is about to get a workout with that ice cream scoop. I hope he's ready. And these folk here look hungry. So something bad about to happen to somebody in the food service industry. And then you wonder. Oh, but you're going to get mad at me when I tell you Black Motherhood is dead. Black Motherhood is dead and Black Womanhood is on life support. At best. And then you want, Chris Rock said it almost 20 years ago, I feel sorry for the males who are going to have to pick a wife out of this bunch. Well, that bunch he was talking about during Never Scared, they're grown now. And the marriage rate is at record lows. And you wonder why. Who in the hell is going to get up every morning at 7 in the morning, work his ass off for 12 hours a day, make $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 a year, and this going to be his reward? You tell me who in the hell is going to be motivated to do this, and this is going to be his reward. How the hell you figure that's going to happen? And that's going to be his reward. And they're out there by the packs of them. Not just one or two. They're out there by the packs. Looking raggedy as hell with no care and no concern. Yeah, she didn't fit a damn thing when she walked out the door. She's standing real ladylike, isn't she? This heifer's built like Patrick from SpongeBob, and yet she's down there at the beach and thinking she gonna trap something. Only if you fall on him. Don't worry about that. Ladies, don't hate the player or the game. Hate your coach. That's why you're losing. Don't hate the player or the game. Hate your coach. That's why you're losing. That's the reason. But it's not me. Don't get mad at me. I'm just reporting the news. They'll sit up here and tell you that the men are really digging this, and yet every time you look around, you see a bunch of females. The females are bigger than the damn dudes are. Wider than the dudes are. Oh yeah, and by themselves. Take a look, a long line of females. Ladies, you have completely priced yourselves and you've ruined yourselves right out of the market. You have run your value down so badly. When I say priced, I mean you ran the value down. You have run the value down so much that you're no longer eligible. You have completely disqualified yourselves from contention. And then thinking you're going to be presentable in such a way, completely disqualified. No man is looking to get up in the morning and work his ass off and have the capability of buying a Bentley, and he's going to have a broad built like she just got paroled from the men's correctional prison in San Quentin. And then take a look. I mean, this was everywhere. You all can see, I can bring you clip after clip after clip after clip. This was everywhere. This heifer's built like Beanie Siegel, and yet sitting in the middle of Bayside, one after another, after another, after another. And then they will come and complain that ain't no men available. There ain't no men available for you. None available for you. And I'm asking a simple question. Where are the females to check each other on this? Can someone tell me where are black women as a group to check each other on this and say, hey, you got to present yourself better than this, baby. You ain't up to code. You ain't up to code. You can't buy flat abs. Yeah, you can look back there all you want to. I don't mind. Y'all can see I was risking life and limb. You can see I was risking life and limb. I was risking life and limb recording that. They were looking around, and at any moment it could have gone left. At any moment she could have grabbed my leg and started chewing on me. So when I tell you all don't understand some of the risks that I take to do this. I'm on foreign soil. I ain't from Florida. I don't go to Miami like that. I'm on foreign soil. And yet I'm risking life and limb to show you all this is really what's going on. For those of you who ain't been down there and hadn't had a chance to take a look at it, this is really what's going on. Nobody else is going to risk anything like this. Nobody. That's what you got me for. That's what you got me for. So you tell me who's going to go and load one of these big heifers up on the damn cruise ship down here, Port of Miami. I ain't Rick Ross, but I'm at the Port of Miami. Who's going to sit up here and knock themselves over to go pay thousands of dollars to go take that out on the cruise ship? Who's going to do that? Who's lined up to do that? Who are the fellows who can't wait to take this sideshow on the Norwegian cruise? Who's ready? Who's lined up and ready to do that? Who's lined up to go ahead and take care of that for you? Who is? I'm not being mean-spirited. I'm just saying, if you're going to have a situation where you're going to be telling guys that they need to do this and they need to do that, and telling them what their deficiencies are and ain't no good men and all this old bull crap, then you ought to be able to show us where all the on-point females are. And you really can't do that. I know I'm hurting your feelings, but you really can't do that. If I'm just going to keep it real with you, you're really not going to be able to get away with that. I know you kind of want to say it, but let's just keep it real. You can't really do it. And we should have some places that should be safe enclaves, but there ain't no enclave anymore, man. There's no safe haven. It's everywhere now. It's everywhere now. I'm just the guy with the guts to bring it to you, but man, it's everywhere now. It is everywhere. It is all over. It is epidemic proportions. Dude, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. There's nowhere you can get away from it. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And I only say this because I want to make it very, very clear to you here that, ladies, ask yourselves a question here, but y'all ain't stupid. Y'all already know the answer. Y'all know y'all ain't up to code. Y'all know this is embarrassing. You know this is humiliating. You know full well nobody's looking to try to take you to the Bahamas or the Virgin Islands and coming out the gap representing him like this. You know full damn well, built like Samoa Joe. Men are not going to sit up here and have an above average life and come drop it off to you. Looking like straight alley cats or fat tabby cats. Well, if we're just run down enough, they'll have to take one of us. Yeah. And then you get upset at the quality of losers that you get. Then you wonder why it is that 80% of the males today are making an average income. Well, hell yeah. And the average guy is struggling. Well, why in the world should he do above average if he's going to get a below average chick as his reward? There's no reason for that. If he's going to get a below average chick, he might as well make a below average money and save himself the above average stress. Save himself the above average headaches. Save himself the above average problems. Save himself the above average turmoil if he's going to do that. If he's going to go through all that. These are the things we've been talking about here for a while. We've been talking about this for a minute and folks been acting like they don't hear it. So this is why I took it upon myself to go on location and risk somebody jumping on me. But I went on location and I said, let me show y'all what's really happening in Miami. You figure you can't lose in Miami. Nigga, you can lose. You can lose big in Miami. If you told yourself all I gotta do is get to Miami and it's wall-to-wall dimes, it ain't like that. Hey, let's not try to pretend that this was just some aberration. No, it ain't. This is all over the place down there. Let's be very, very clear. It's all over the place. All over the place. Built like a retired sumo wrestler. And I'm talking about just out there where her grandma draws and everything, tramp stamps on display. None of the females are checking each other and saying, hey, we're a big squad of ugly. We need to get this shaped up. None of them are sitting there checking each other. They taking selfies. Take a look. They taking pictures of each other. Do you see this? They're not just out there, they're taking pictures of each other. So what they're telling the men is that this is the new standard. This is the new standard, and this is the best that men should expect today. This is the best you should expect. This is the best you... Look at that big one there in the middle. She's trying to pose. She's sitting there, built like a billboard, trying to pose. If you tried to put a bikini on a butterball turkey, it would look like this. Imagine a butterball turkey wearing a blue bikini. This is what it would look like. And she's posing. So her friend can take a selfie. She's posing. Here, get my good side. Well, at least she's not asking dumb questions like, do I look fat in this? If I ever saw somebody who should be wearing a one piece, it's her. Amazing. The smallest ones are the most covered up and the biggest ones are the most exposed. You know what that means? Neither the men nor the women around them are calling them out on their bull crap. Neither the men nor the women around them are calling them out on their bull crap. Neither the men nor the women around them are calling them out on their bull crap. They are allowing them to run and ride as they please. They're allowing them to get old and older doing the same dumb things. No one is correcting them. No one is saying anything. They're even allowing them to have children and to make the children victims of their behavior. They are completely and utterly willing to do that. That is where they are. They are completely willing, and this is the norm now. I'm telling you all, this is not some aberration. This is the norm. We're going to have to level with this. It's special to find a black female today who is not like this. It is the norm to find them emulating this or defending it. And I'm saying you're going to have to become completely vocal about this. This kind of behavior needs to become the enemy across the board. It needs to become the enemy across the board. And anybody who is not willing to call it out just like that, they are the problem. That's the point I'm making. It's a damn shame. You shouldn't have to go down to these places. You shouldn't have to go out to places and folk who are wearing the same skin as you and wearing the same African phenotype as you, and this is how they're representing it. Because understand, this is how they represent you. This is how they represent me. I try to carry myself a certain way because I want to represent my people a certain way. I want to bring honor and prestige to that. I don't want it to just be looking any old kind of way. But we're going to have to be totally honest about what the hell we're talking about here. Black motherhood is dead because black womanhood is damn near dead at this point. And that's the problem. Black womanhood is damn near dead now. But enough from me. We're going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines now. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your personal access code to the program that laid the foundation upon which all of your red pill, MGTOW, high value posers, alpha male idiots, and wannabes have stolen and ripped off everything, taken whole sections and parts and pieces, and messing it up when they get over there. We keep you straight over here. They'll be messing it up next week, so get it straight and done correctly over here this week. I got a question to ask you. Was this your mama when you were growing up? Was your mama like this? Was this your mom? Was your mama this kind of dirty, grimy broad that as a child, this is what you grew up under? This is the type of chick she was. Is your auntie this type of grimy broad? This type of grimy, overly sexualized, Oedipal complex sporting chick? Was this your mama, your grandmama, your auntie, your sisters, your nieces? Is this them? Can we just keep it real? Is this them? Are you honest enough and willing to be honest enough about that we can go ahead and discuss that so we can go ahead and get that straight? Because I shouldn't be out here risking life and limb and risking my safety and anything could happen. Folk could kick in doors or any damn thing. I shouldn't have to be doing this to bring this to you, but I'm bringing it to you because nobody else is doing this. I'm not sitting in some damn hotel room somewhere spraying cologne and perfume and waxing my legs and telling you about what I suppose. I'm hitting the pavement. I'm hitting the street. I'm showing you what's really going on in multiple areas, showing you it's not just one or two. There is no exception to the rule. I'm showing you what's really happening here so we can have a real discussion about it and speak about what's really going on out here and what's really happening, not some stereotype being fed to you. That's not what we're doing here. We're going to go ahead and open up the telephone lines now. The number is 646-787-1933. That's 646-787-1933. Your access code to the business. Let's go ahead and get a couple of phone calls here. Let me get caller from area code 702. You're on live with the business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Janique from Las Vegas.
Janique from Las Vegas, what's on your mind?
My mama wasn't actually one of those women that were actually out there, but none of my aunts either. But I do know of a couple of my cousins that have children and still decide to go out and party even after they had children. And I never understood, like, you have children now. You need to raise those children. And you don't need to be worrying about trying to get a man. It's too late for you.
Well, I mean, here's the real issue, though. How old are they?
In their late 20s, early 30s.
So this is the period in life.
Women.
they're in their late 20s, early 30s. So this is the period in life where their children are supposed to be hitting that stride, and the women are supposed to be living the best life. They're supposed to be with a man who's got them living better than they ever have. Instead, they're in their 20s or 30s, struggling more than they've ever struggled. There is no end in sight. There is no companion who is truly actually invested in them at this point. Because remember, when I put together the peak value matrix about these things to show you about when a man hits his financial stride is in his mid-30s. Well, a female, if her man is a few years older than her, she's going to be in her late 20s or early 30s at best. He'll be in his mid-30s or early 40s. And at that point, this will be hitting their stride. And women understand this intrinsically where they're supposed to be at a certain point. They know where they're supposed to be at a certain point in life. And when they're not there, they also understand they're not where they're supposed to be. So yes, they re-enter the sexual marketplace hoping that there's one last, straggler left at the train station that they can hitch their wagon to. And that's really what's going on today.
Right. But I never understood why these women think it's okay to even go out acting like that when you're supposed to be a mother. And I also never understood why men would agree to even go out with a single mother. I'm it's too late for them. They need to raise their children.
They're available for sex, and that's it. So men have a range of what they'll tolerate for sex, because for men, it's the value of it stops there. For a female, the value of sex is supposed to be security, benefits. For a female, sex has value beyond just the physical. So, because she's risking more. And that's the real thing about it. For sex, a woman is risking more. But for men, it becomes a risk once we start talking about marriage. That's why women are supposed to enter into sex carefully, and men can be capricious. Women can be capricious about entering into marriage, but men are supposed to be very careful and scrutinizing. Because in those two situations, one has much more to lose than the other. So for those of you whose parents haven't told you. But I got to ask you a question here, sister, and I'm very, very glad that you said this now. But I got to ask you a question. Okay. I mean, I really, really do here.
Of course.
How old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay. Do you have any children?
No.
Okay. Ma'am, the reason why females today act like this is because where you at? I mean, if you all are not calling this out and reclaiming the female culture for yourselves, y'all are the problem. I gotta say, it's the females who claim they don't like it and yet are silent. You all are the ones who are actually enabling this, because you are failing to create a hostile environment. You all make a very welcoming environment. You shake your heads, and when you come in the company of men like myself or the men who are here, y'all talk one way here. But when you are in front of these females, you don't do that. You all don't call them out on that. In your daily lives, you don't do that.
I will say that I'm actually one of the few that actually will get attacked by it, because I have spoken up about it. And it's I'll get attacked so much that I'm ran out the room.
Well,
that's why
I would love to see it. Okay, well, okay. Silence. Just understand something. Silence is complicity.
Mm-hmm.
Silence is complicity.
Understood.
That's what it is. It just is. So just keep that in mind. You cannot sit up, because just understand something. You wouldn't respect me as a man if I sat up here and whatnot and things were not the way they're supposed to be. And I just said, well, I just got tired of talking about it. It's oh, no. You're supposed to play your position regardless. You're supposed to play your position regardless. So just understand it makes it impossible for us to respect the women as a group. When as a group, just understand that silence is complicity. It's, well, I don't want to bring the rest of them down too much because then the men will be calling shots. Yeah, that's exactly what you need. You need the men to be calling the shots again. You absolutely do. Because this is what you get when the men don't. When the men are not calling the shots, this is what you get. Thought world. Where black women as a group, all of you get lumped in together and all of you pay the price as a group.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
Well, I mean, I need you all to not be comfortable paying that price, because if you're paying that price silently, that means you're okay with it.
You're right.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Ladies, there is no place for neutrality. Call from area code 281. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Prince out of Richmond, Texas.
Prince out of Richmond. What's on your mind, brother?
Jason, I didn't notice many dimes walking in these groups of women. I found it quite interesting how they all got together, but you didn't see, because when you ever see Miami or any of those areas in Florida, they don't show a group of herd of women overweight like this.
Oh, no, they know how to curate. Let's be very, very clear. Miami knows how to curate its image, okay? I'm just the guy who, I didn't go down there on a mission to curate Miami's image. I went down there to show you what's really going on. But let's just be very, very clear that places know how to market themselves, and they know the niches to hang out in and stuff. And when dudes post up on Instagram, they're not going to sit up here and post up everything at random. They're going to find the one or two dime chicks, because ugly females, fat females, old females are invisible to men, except the bummiest and brokest. Now, you Prince, you know this. That's the real problem. Yeah. So the guys will tell you it's nothing but dimes down there. Well, yeah, because compared to a place like Memphis or Louisiana, there may not be quite as many, beach whales there and sloppy broads. But I'm showing you the real, to be very, very clear about it, just to be certain. Fat females, ugly females, old females are invisible to men. They are invisible. And because they are invisible, it leads to the perception that is communicated that, oh, this area's got a bunch of dimes. When in reality, the guys are colorblind. They're selectively blind to seeing all these others. Now, I went down there for the purposes of showing everything. I didn't go down there looking for a specific thing. I went down there to say, well, here's what you will see walking around. I didn't just go down there to cherry pick. And if you actually go down there and say, let's take a real sample. And I'm not saying everything that came by here was ugly either, by the way, or out of shape either. But I am showing you this idea that the dimes outnumber the pennies 6-1 is just outright fiction.
Well, your idea dealing with motherhood, I really like that. And dealing with the boys, it's almost like they're conditioning
90
boys for the last
seconds.
generation or so to accept these type of things. So, but it's not necessarily working because the young men are rebelling. Now, I'm from Texas, so some thick women down here, but a lot of the women in my family are not necessarily overweight. Most of them, the younger ones, but they doing these tats, and that I tell my nieces and my daughter that takes your value down every tattoo you get.
Well, I mean, we need some men in the family, though, Prince. That's what we need, brother. We need the men in the family. Y'all dudes who are in the family, y'all are going to put your foot down. All this being bystanders, y'all are going to have to start making some enemies in the damn family. That's the real problem we have, is that if there is a male in the family, see, too many black men do not value their bloodlines. And maybe it's because your daddy didn't really build nothing. Your grandfather didn't build nothing. There's something to be said for being the one who says, you know what? Up until this point, the bloodline ain't been nothing. I'm going to be the one who changes that. And there's something to be said for that, brother. Whether it's Vanderbilt, Rockefeller, I hate to have to name white men for that, but they came here and stole and killed a bunch of people to do that. Prescott Bush. You talk about the Bush family. Prescott Bush, he got tired of being a nothing. He got tired of being part of a family that had nothing. And they got to work and said, okay, we ain't had nothing before now, but that's about to end. I'm going to be the one who turns this bloodline into something worth having. And that's where we mess up as black men. So when you value the bloodline, you start going around saying, hey, y'all ain't up to code. You got the same name as me. You ain't up to code. And you start riding roughshod on people. And eventually what happens, once you make it clear to them, oh, there really is a standard and you really will make things uncomfortable, folks start getting in line. They start getting in line or they crawl into a hole, which either one is preferable to letting them run around and keep spoiling the landscape.
Right. My last statement, Jason, is that they say, well, if you're supposed to be a protector and provider, you're not supposed to criticize. No, we're not protecting and providing for garbage. We're not protecting and providing for low standards. So you got to be something worth protecting and providing for. And that's all I have to say, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, you have to communicate to them. Protection and provision comes with requirements. It's a privilege. It isn't a right. There are rules to being a person who you have to qualify for protection and providing. This idea of being protected and provided for is a welfare state, and it's a constitutional right that you are given by virtue of being born. That's a damn lie. That's a fantasy you can feed yourself, but that's a lie. Thank you very much for giving us a call. I think I put in the wrong thing here. I'm going to try to restart Blog Talk for everybody who's on the line here. I'm going to try to restart it because I chose the wrong thing on here. I chose the wrong timing for it. So I didn't give it the right amount of time. So I'm going to see if I can try to get it to restart because sometimes it won't let us do that. If it doesn't, then I guess we're just done taking calls anyway. But I want to try to get that correct if I can. We're talking tonight about why Black Motherhood is dead. We're talking tonight about why it's dead. And I recently took a trip down to Miami. And you can see on your screen some of the foolery that I was treated to as a result. Right outside the window while I was sitting down there to show you some of the foolishness that I was subjected to. Because while folks sit up here and they show you the pretty side of things, they show you the pretty side of it. Let me go ahead and throw the nighttime on you. They show you the pretty side of it and whatnot. So you can be down there at Biscayne Bay in the middle of Brickell. They can show you the billion-dollar buildings and whatnot and talk about that and all the bad food, by the way. Miami is an awful place for food. Terrible. But there's a worse side to it, and it's also a place where, unfortunately, the worst in womanhood comes to expose itself. And I witnessed this while I was there. Thoughts on parade, corrupting their own damn sons because they don't have a man who would be willing to spend any damn time with her. And this type of behavior right here, miss, I don't know whose baby mama this is, but this type of behavior right here, this is the reason you got a kid taking your slutty ass Insta thought pictures and you ain't got a man to look at your backside. You have a kid to do it. And this behavior from you right here, this is the reason why. There's no man who would trust you with his legacy under these circumstances. There's no man who's going to trust you with that. Telephone lines are back open here. Let me go ahead and get caller from area code 918. You're on live with the business. What's your name? Where you calling from? You got a lot of noise going on back there.
Hey, hold on, Chief. Yeah, hey, yo, TVA, this is Flex out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, man. What's going on?
Flex out of Tulsa, what's on your mind?
I'm just trying to tell you, yeah, man. Now, I grew up down the street from that type we talking about, man. You know what I'm saying? This chick had grew up, her mama, you know what I'm saying, had tattoos and didn't had different baby daddies and shit. And she was a cool little girl, man. And I try to, you know, I come from a two-parent household and was raised right and everything. And I always had a little crush on the chick. I tried to get with her, but she ended up turning out like her mama. Tattoos, different baby daddies and shit, you know what I'm saying? And, man, you know, These bitches ain't got no role models, man. Just had to say, man. This shit, I mean, appreciate the goddamn program, man. Just stay on their motherfucking necks, man.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Please do give us a call again. Let me get caller from area code 646. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Roxy. How are you?
Hello, Roxy. Been a minute since I heard from you. What's on your mind?
Hi. I am looking at this video, and I must say, although I am a little bit older, first of all, I agree with you. They need to update the files because I've never been to Miami, and I just knew that everybody was walking around in a size 8 bathing suit or bikini, and I'm watching this video, and I'm like, oh, my God.
No. N-O,
that's
no.
the first thing. The second thing is I can't believe that the son is taking a picture of his mom's rear. Like, I've never seen a child, you ask your child to take a picture of your rear, squatting and all these different positions. I'm appalled. I mean, I'm 50 and I know sometimes I keep my comments to myself because it's like, you're older, you don't understand. No, this is never right. I don't care what age. I never even thought about anything like this. So this is like shocking. I just really feel like, and even them walking around with songs, and there's kids walking by, there's grandmothers walking by. Nobody cares. Like, does Miami mean just do whatever you want? Like, is that what Miami means?
All right, now let's keep it real though. Miami is a metaphor. I can show you the same thing in Brooklyn. I can show you the same thing in Washington Heights. I can show you the same thing in Dallas. I can show you the same thing in Houston. I can show you the same thing in Ventura Beach. I can show you the same thing in San Francisco, San Diego, Seattle. I can show you the same thing anywhere. And what we really need, the real cause of this, is that the so-called good black women are silent. They have watched this deteriorate. Absolutely. They've watched this go downhill, and they are silent. And until the women make this an issue, because understand, it affects everybody. How these hoes condition men to see black women is how you get treated. And you know that for a fact. You become a recipient of the atmosphere that they create. You're not neutral.
Right.
You know, there is no neutrality to it. You don't just get to sit there and, well, I'll get all the benefits of it, and what happens with them is over there with them. No, it's they set the standard and they set the perception by which you will be treated, even at the age of 50.
Absolutely.
They set that. They set the expectations. Absolutely. Whatever it is that men expect, they set those. So the silence by black women is what's really damning. That's the real problem. And the silence is everywhere. And we need to be honest about why black women as a group are silent. As a group, they are silent because, and it's a shameful thing, but I have to tell the truth. As a group, black women black women have become comfortable with this dysfunctional situation as long as they're the ones who made it. There's a saying, I would rather fail doing it my way than succeed doing it someone else's. And when you have become so narcissistic and vain that you are determined to fail, you're determined to do it your way, even if it's nothing but a constant failure. At that point, we got a real problem. So, and I know, Roxy, I know you have your own way of being able to talk about these things on your platform and stuff. But we really need that to become that really needs to become the common thing about it. And unfortunately, you know, talking about physical fitness is good, but ma'am, the real issue is not, the lack of physical fitness is a consequence of the mental and emotional illness. That's where it comes from. So we can badger them all day long about eating better, but if what they're putting in their minds and in their spirits is contaminated, then what they put in their mouths is simply going to be a side effect of that. So what are we going to do as black women, Roxy? What are you all going to do to address that part of it?
Well, here's the problem. In my opinion, the problem is that back when I was growing up in my 20s and in the late 80s, you know, we had more respect for people that tried to give us a right direction. You know, we didn't fight our, you know, elders or someone that was trying to help us out and give us the right advice. We didn't do that back then. Today is just different. You cannot just approach people and say, listen, I don't think you should be wearing that bonnet. You're like, you got to represent yourself better, sister. It doesn't work like that anymore, because you have them, their mama, their friends, and everybody else trying to fight you in the street, when you was only trying to do your good deed by giving your opinion on what you think would be a better representation of us as Black women. It just doesn't work how it used to, and you have to understand that. It's just not the same. There's times that I would love to say something to a sister out there and be like, you know, sister, you really shouldn't be talking like that. You know, they will look at me in my face and tell me, if you don't mind your business. Do I want that? Is it worth it for me? All I can do is try to teach my daughter. I have one daughter in college.
Roxy, on the one hand, I want to accept that. On the one hand. But then I gotta look on the other. Roxy, let's just keep it 100.
Absolutely.
Black women have no problem bucking up on Black men every day.
Oh, yes.
Let's just be clear.
Absolutely.
Y'all, we don't ever hear y'all talk about fear of critiquing and getting smart at the mouth. Black men got to deal with that every single, and this is the men who possess twice the strength and 50% more muscle mass and twice the strength. And we never hear the females express fear of imposing their unwarranted, uninvited opinions on us. Now that's never there's never an excuse for not inflicting their opinions on us.
Absolutely, but I also believe that Black women, or not even Black women, women in general are just protected more now than they were when I was in my late 20s. You know, now they have all these different things that says we can say what we want, we can do what we want, and men are not allowed to touch us in any type of way, regardless of what we did.
But they're not saying what they want to each other.
Say that again?
But not saying what they want to each other. Then we get a bunch of excuses about what they can't.
Because
we get a bunch of excuses about what they can't say.
If we say what we want to each other, we end up in a fight on media takeout, on the internet, viral of a woman, say a woman like myself, 50 years old, getting her ass beat in the airport. Sorry.
Okay, well, first of all, okay, let's be very, very clear, Roxy. Let's be very, very clear, because, you know, baby, you are in very good shape. Okay, so if one of these big heifers is able to wear duh, you're in very good shape. You're in very good shape. Okay, so
I'm all right.
Okay, now if one of these heifers here is able to wear you out with their total lack of cardio and everything, what?
Oh yeah, they gotta catch me first. They definitely gotta catch me first.
Okay, so that's my point. That's my point.
Understood. I think a lot of sisters would like to step up and, you know, and guide some of the younger generation. It's just too risky. It's not that we don't want to. It's not that we don't want to be put in a better light. It's just hard. It's like, are you willing to fight for that opinion or not?
Well,
you know, and
I mean, baby, look here.
It's easier to say, just mind your business.
Okay, but here's the real thing, though. The real thing is, take a look at me. I mean, I was down there in the middle of that, and you can see where the heifers were looking at me and every damn thing else. And I'm just saying, it's one of those things where, you know, it could have gone bad for me. I mean, that's what I was saying right here. I mean, I'm right across the street from it with it going on. It could have gone bad for me. I just didn't let that be an excuse to do nothing. I mean, therein lies the difference.
Right.
I think so many of you become comfortable, and I'm just going to be honest with you. So many of you, the so-called good Black women, have become comfortable because you all are just used to giving us an excuse, and then we accept it. I got to just put my foot down. We're not accepting excuses anymore. No more excuses. Right. No more, well, they going this, that, and the other. They going to fight. Well, here's the difference. It's worth fighting for. That's the problem. I'm taking a look at a young Black male on this screen whose mama is sexualizing herself in front of him. He's going to grow up to be R. Kelly Danny Jr., We got more and more of this mess going on because the females refuse to get themselves straightened out. They are now inflicting sexual dysfunction and sexual abuse as the norm on their own sons because they refuse to make themselves fit for a man. So rather than correct themselves there, they are degenerating into something subhuman. And what I'm saying is no more excuses. I'm taking away the excuse box. The excuse box is closed. The excuse department is being shut down permanently. No more excuses. All hands on deck. Period. Because
I agree.
If I can get out here and do this, and I got folk threatening me and every damn thing else, if I can do that, y'all ain't got no excuse, man. Y'all really don't. Let's just be clear. You all are giving excuses.
I hear you.
You all are tendering excuses because up until now we've accepted the excuse. I'm just telling you right now, we're not accepting it. No excuses.
Yeah.
You're either with us.
I hear what you're saying.
You're either with us and against them, or you're against us. That's it. You're either with us and you toe the line, or you're against us and you're with them.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it. Most women are against men in any type of way. But I just think this new generation is just changing things for the worse.
Well, it's not. No, this isn't new.
I can personally.
This isn't new, baby. This has been going on now since the 60s. This isn't new. This is not new. This is not new. We just got more documentation of it now. We just got more documentation. But let's be clear.
But I see you guys are definitely putting your foot down. I've been watching a lot of videos on YouTube with a lot, and you guys are putting your foot down, and I can respect it. I absolutely respect it, and I hear everything that you guys are saying. I really do. Well, it just puts other women in a bad position.
The next thing I'm doing, though, you're putting your foot down. I'm putting my foot down and put my foot in y'all's asses. The so-called females, I'm putting my foot down on your asses. You are going to have. I know that's right. You all have. The whole point of us saying something is to let the females know y'all are off code as hell. The silence.
Absolutely.
Silence is off code. The excuses are off code. That's off code. I was so. Understand something with LeBron James. When LeBron James would not speak up about Tamir Rice, I didn't sit up here and just say, "Well, man, that messed up, man." I didn't sit up here and take people's excuses. I wouldn't have to go buy billboards. I wasn't able to get the one that I wanted, but I didn't just sit there in silence. And I understand everybody can't buy a billboard necessarily or whatnot like that. But like I say, there's no excuse for not making sure you can make a couple of folks' days uncomfortable when you see that. And the environment begins to change.
At what cost?
It's not about
what cost. That's the question.
Okay, tell me what the cost of silence is.
It's free, absolutely free, no cost at all. But no, that's not true.
You think this doesn't come at a cost?
Worse. Absolutely worse.
You think this has been a victimless crime? You think this is coming at no cost to you? All right. If you really believe that
No. That's why I took it back. I thought about it. No, you're absolutely right. It's a big cost to us.
Thank you.
It's an absolute big cost to us because it gets worse and it's I understand.
You know what I miss?
I definitely understand.
I miss the days of respectable black women because a Harriet Tubman wouldn't have talked like this. A Sojourner Truth wouldn't have talked like this. And Ida B. Wells wouldn't have talked like this. A Mary McLeod Bethune wouldn't have talked like this. A Betty Shabazz, Dr. Betty Shabazz wouldn't have talked like this. A Scheherazade Ali. She was never the biggest, baddest little chick. She wouldn't have talked like this.
Right.
A Dr. Frances Cress Welsing never would have talked like this, Roxy. And there's a reason.
Yeah, but back then they didn't have social media.
Back then the women had scruples. Back then the women had scruples and a spine and principles. They didn't allow the hoes to wear their uniform. As a black woman, they are wearing your skin, they're wearing your uniform, and they didn't allow the hoes to pass themselves off as queens. And as men, we respected them. We respected those women because they upheld the standard and they told us this is what it means to be a black woman. Therefore, we had to respect that because they were insistent on a standard. So I'm just letting you know. I'm just letting you know those women didn't talk like this.
I understand, but what I am saying is that it's a different time. There's the internet, there's viral videos, there's videos being captured, and the good women, the silenced ones, are the ones that have careers, that have families. They have stuff to lose than for their job to see them going viral, in a fight in a public area, and they have a lot more to risk with their reputation. It's the ones that don't have nothing to risk that's out there doing it. It's the ones out there that don't have a job. They don't have no children. Well, clearly some of them do have children, but they don't care. They don't have nothing to risk. It's the ones that's silent that say it's not worth me getting myself in all of this trouble to give her my opinion. I don't know her. She's not my niece. She's not my nothing to me.
Roxy, here's the problem. Y'all ain't even saying nothing to your daughters. You're not saying anything to your nieces. It's not like your family tree is all spick and span and everything's all good. So even the example you just gave, you're not even pulling rank in the family tree. So it's not like that's happening.
Well, listen, that's not true. That's absolutely not true. That's absolutely not true. My daughter actually came to me last week or a couple of weeks ago with a corset top that she wanted to wear. And I said, absolutely not. She's like, Mom, I'm 20 years old. You can't do this anymore. And I was like, Josh, let me tell you what this means. When you wear stuff like that, you invite people to treat you a certain way. No, well, I'm not saying, no, it doesn't matter. Just listen. I put my foot down with my kids. Now, at 20 years old, there's so much control that I can have. But I can tell her my opinion and give her something to think about opposed to just saying, no, you can't wear it. I don't have that power no more.
Dear.
She's away at college and I'm not there.
Roxy.
So I am putting my foot down. And yes, if I see my cousin or my niece wearing something outlandish, I'll tell her. But strangers, is it worth it? Is it worth the risk?
Roxy, I think we both know that's I think we both know that's not a factual statement. I think we both know that's a limited. I think we both know that is a limited statement. What I am going to say, without going too far into it here, is you all are not expressing any of this fear when y'all back talk black men. You've always got an excuse for why you can't do anything. And just understand, you'll be judged for your inaction as much as you're judged for your act, and more so than you're judged for your action. So you're gonna pay a cost one way or the other. Would you rather pay a cost increasing your value, or would you rather pay the cost you're paying now? Thank you very much for giving us a call. That's an elliptical question. Caller from area code 216. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's going on? Jason Black, Mr. Chris from Cleveland. How are you?
Chris from Cleveland, what's on your mind?
Yeah, what's on my mind is, we've had this talk a couple of weeks ago with that young lady on the phone, and they just, a lot of these women, they just they don't get it, and a lot of them don't want to get it. The last caller, that chick, she's full of shit. Okay. Because I'm going to tell you something right now. She's 50 years old. I'm 50 years old. There were girls back then getting pregnant at 13, 14 years old. And they were leaving guys their age to go hook up with older dudes. And she knows all of this. The problem is real simple. There's two species. And I'm about to piss a lot of women off, black women off. But you know what? If you don't got your crap together, then this is who I'm talking about. There are two species of human beings that never hold themselves accountable for a goddamn thing. That's black women and white men. Now, when I say black women, I'm not talking individually. I'm talking collectively. And what they do collectively is that they what is that? Waiting to exhale clique, the Yaya sisterhood clique. They hook up, they get together, they go, girl, don't let nobody tell you what to do, blah, 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 blah. All right. But the problem is, those same women that talk that hot garbage they'll be the main ones. They'll be the main ones trying to check out their friend's man. And I've seen it. I've seen women who I didn't give a time of day to, and then want to hook up with one of my brothers to piss me off, because that's how trifling they are. And as you as a good woman, if you are a so-called good black woman out there that holds herself accountable, you cannot be silent to this thottery out here, to this hoishness, because you know what ends up happening? A lot of good women that get cheated on by their man, guess who that man cheat on? One of these gutter bras that I'm watching right now on your show. All right, because it's easy. You get to eat. It's a thrill, and you've heard of the saying, Jason, about cheap thrills. So that's what it comes down to. I've been on radio shows with women, and they're like, Chris, I can't believe you said that. And guess what? I've flown to go see them. I'm here. I've said what I said on the radio. I'm going to say it to your face now. And that's the thing. That's the thing. So if I can do it, any woman can check a woman and say, hey, you know what? You're tacky. You're trifling. You're lowering your value, and you're making it hard for women like myself. I have never, ever, 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 ever heard a black woman say to another black woman, it's women like you that make it harder for women like me. I've never heard a white man tell another white man, you know what? It's racist white guys like you that make it harder for me, because those two species of human beings don't have it in their nature to call out their own bullshit. They don't have it in them. Not at all. And so it takes a show like this to set the Bevel standard on real black men who got their shit together, like I do, like you do, and talk in absolution on what we expect out of a black sister. All right. And so when you're telling the truth, they don't want to hear it. But it's okay to hear what Pookie and Ray Ray tell them. But Pookie and Ray Ray aren't producers. I've yet to meet one. So now there's all these excuses. There's all this weak bravado. Well, if I say that to her, it's going to be none of. She gonna tell me what's my business and whatever. Either you stand for something or you fall for anything. If that same sister would tell a man that he needs to man up and take care of his responsibilities, guess what? Then you should be able to look at a sister who's doing ratchet stuff and tell her the same damn thing. You need to woman up, and you need to carry yourself with some class, not for yourself, but every other woman that is coming behind you. I'll wait to hear that.
Well, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, brother. We appreciate it. Definitely, like I say, brothers and sisters from around the world, I'm letting them speak here tonight. If this was your mama, if you're watching this program here tonight, if this was your mom, if this is the kind of mother you had, the kind of mother who would have you taking her Instagram booty pictures. This is what I witnessed down there in Brickell. These hoes were coming down there, 6 and 7 of them to a room. They could only afford to stay for one night, and they were just endlessly taking pictures, and some of them were mamas with their kids taking booty pictures that they were going to go post up on the gram. Let me adjust my thong so your son can get a bird's eye view. Caller from area code 630, you're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Jason, this is Nick from Chicago by way of Houston.
Nick from Chicago, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I had 2 points. One of them is that the holding women accountable. Me, myself, I mean, if I see a single mother, if I see somebody, that's if I interact. Sometimes I go out of my way. Sometimes I don't. But if I see a single mother, I warm them up with a good conversation or whatever first. That's if I have some time. And then I call them out as they are. I find out the information about it. And I'm just like, hey, I either call them pathetic and they need to get their life together because I got raised by a single mother. It's a lot of people in my family got raised by a single mother. I see the stuff and the destruction that happens, and I tell them about it. I have yet to see one of them actually go crazy on me. So if I can do it, these women can do it.
Yeah, I mean, they don't do it because they want to. I mean, they're comfortable where things are. As men, we're the ones uncomfortable because men are competitive. We're not comfortable with the situation as it is. They're comfortable with it as long as they can, as long as there's some. They would rather get unearned crumbs than get an earned loaf, and that's where we're at right now. And that's the psychological behavior that needs to be broken, is being comfortable getting crumbs. I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, and while here in Houston, I saw two young boys, 15 and 16. I don't know if they're listening, but I gave them your channel, and I told them to listen in. I told them about the time, 7 p.m. Central Time, at least for us. And they were kicked out of their house by their mother, single mother. And I started asking them details. They were out. It looked like they were homeless. They were asking for money at a Walgreens. And it was 11:30 at night. So they got kicked out. They said, yeah, this kind of happens if they have a disagreement. The mother has basically turned the older one into a son husband. The one, he's only 1 year difference. I could see it in his face, the naivete that he doesn't recognize from his mother. But the older one knows his mother is a hoe, knows that his mother is for the streets and everything. As I'm telling him, I'm like, look, don't look back. Get yourself together. Listen to the business. Gave him some other game that I had. I hope they're listening right now and exchange number and everything like that, because they really need to get it together. I had to flex a little bit to tell them, hey, I got my life together, but you probably are psychologically warped because of the things that went through. But do not look back. Do not reward her bad behavior or anything. But I could tell the one that was 16, he had no respect for his mother. The younger one, it was like one ear and out the other one. But hopefully they're listening now. But that's what I see on a unfortunately more regular basis than I would like to see. Not necessarily like,
well, our job is to make it
uncomfortable. Out here.
We need to make it uncomfortable. That's our job. Our job is to make it clear as the men, we're taking the leadership position, and we're making it clear by expressing exactly what we think, that it's uncomfortable. So it's made to, like I say, the landscape has changed. They're not running around acting like everybody's okay about it. That's the problem. They know everybody's not okay with it. And our job is to make sure that the folks running around with their bonnets and their pajamas and just looking raggedy and whatnot as men, you have to make that clear. But also the chicks who are just out here completely throw the hell off and destroying womanhood and motherhood. Yeah, that's the thing to take a look at. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get called from area code, let me see, 214. Let me put you back on hold here. Actually, I was looking for something else. Call from area code 213. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, how you doing, Jason? This is Sean. I'm from Long Beach.
Sean from Long Beach, and what's on your mind?
Well, I was just connecting with your statement about the holding them accountable in reference to them as a collective. You say one thing to these women, and then they all come and attack you based on, them trying to protect their own situation. And we're in a situation where this is a pandemic, man. This is global, what we're dealing with our black women. And it's not to just attack one of them, but you just make a statement about any of their behavior, and then they all attack you, even the fine ones.
Okay. And was that why you were asked to call in?
Well, because I was going off on all of them. They all kept attacking, so I'm going off on their ass each by one by one. I don't play with no damn woman. You attack me, I'm going to attack your ass back, period. I'm just telling them about themselves. Weed, stank-ass behavior. I mean, you showing the videos. What more we need to see? I'm just elaborating on what's going on the videos. And they attacking in the chat like as if this is not the damn topic of the video. Motherhood is dead. I mean, what else can we say? We trying to get our women together, and they still don't even get it.
Well,
anybody attacking no one woman. I'm sorry.
I think they do get it. I think that at this point right now, they've been allowed to run so wild, so far without any critique that is basically like dealing with savages at this point, and they are just accustomed to everybody just accepting it. And that's the problem. That's the problem. So thank you very much for giving us a call here tonight. In the chat room there, no internet. Definitely, if you're not a member of my Patreon, you definitely want to be there. But it's a product of yourself, man. It's not a specific age. The age I decided that was hell. As soon as I decided I could talk about it. So it's a decision you have to make. It's not an age. It's a decision. It's not a chronological condition. It is a personal decision. All right, let me go back to caller from area code 214. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Lo from Dallas, Texas.
Okay, what's the name again?
Lo.
Hello, Lo from Dallas. What's on your mind? Lo.
Okay, so
now,
I wanted to...
Is this Lo who's called me before?
Yes, I've called you several times.
Okay, I'm about to say, it's been a while since we heard from you there. I thought she got married down there or something.
I know.
Dude told her don't call in anymore.
I am married.
I'm about to say,
I am married.
Dude told her don't call up no more. So he's like, don't call that fella. He got married. Tell him, don't call him.
He's very strict on me, and rightfully so. I was a disciplinary problem, like you would say. But I wanted to give you some pushback tonight. I usually don't disagree with you, but from the calls, I've been a little upset because the woman that called that was 50, she is the example of what a lot of black women have. And then the two guys following her were the men that a lot of black women have to look up to. There's no leadership. You're saying, well, what if a woman does this, then X, Y, and Z. But my husband is a true leader. And so no matter how much of a disciplinary problem I was, I knew that I had to fall in line. And
okay, well, no, wait a second. Slow down. That statement, no matter how much of a disciplinary problem I was, and actually I think the real statement is I knew I have to fall in line. Here's the problem. If a person if he's a leader, then why would a person want to be a disciplinary problem?
I'm not with him. And he's not home. He works offshore, so that's why I'm calling tonight. And he doesn't, he listens, but I'm going to make sure that hopefully he doesn't listen to this, or I'll probably end up telling him. But at the end of the day, it was crazy to hear the woman, like I said, first say that she couldn't guide the women in her family, or she could only guide her daughters, because a lot of black women speak that way. And they say, oh, well, I can only help what's around me. But they don't even help the women that are around them. They tell us to go get education, to go get this, to go to get that, and not to worry about a man. And then on the opposite end, you have these men saying, oh, well, black women is this and black women is that. But they're not even leaders, and they're not making money to be able to guide a black woman anywhere besides into poverty.
Okay. Well, let's address the point you just made there. I think what you just said is a very valid thing, and I'm not arguing against the mathematics of what you just said. Question, who's raising 80% of the black boys today into manhood, by the way, and teaching them to be men today?
Black women.
Yikes. I think you.
But where
I
are the
think. I
fathers?
think you were just explaining to us about the deficiencies of the men.
Right,
Tell
because
me
if
more.
you're a father
Tell
and
me
you have a
more.
child, no matter how ratchet your baby mother is, do you leave your child?
Yes.
Or
and
do you
I'll-
just leave the
yeah,
mother?
Ma'am, here's the problem. The problem is you are, and if you've been listening to me as long as you have, you already know the answer to that. The females today as a group. Now, here's where the real issue comes. The females today as a group, and this crosses socioeconomic lines. Females today who are raised in two-parent homes are leaving out of home and going and laying up with a dude who's already got 4 and 5 kids by 4 and 5 other different females. Remember, most of the males today don't have children. But
I agree.
But you can't say that about the females. So you're pointing the finger at the men when you know the math very clearly points to the fact that the females are out of control and are engaging in rampant sexual promiscuity and man sharing with a minority of the males. The easily manipulated, easily dominated, easily controlled sperm donor minority. The females choose males and target. Let's be very, very clear right now. Let's stop with the misinformation. The females of today are targeting. Their preference is to target males who are infantilized, easily manipulated, dominated, and controlled. He will not have standards for her. And then she figures after I get pregnant, I will then flip a switch. And if I want him to start producing, he'll do that later. But let's be very, very clear. The math is very clear. 80% of the boys are being born to single mothers. And most of these females today are engaging in the same thought behavior. They're single mothers either with children or without through abortion. And they are single mothers because they're targeting the bottom 20% of males, non-producers who do not care how they get somebody pregnant. They're targeting them and steering around 60% of the males. But you already know, and you're trying to point the finger at the males. Why is it that
I'm not. And
no. If the bottom 20% of guys out here are getting, if these females are man sharing and doubling and tripling up with Pookie and Ray Ray across the board, these are females who are police officers, secretaries, receptionists, paralegals, in some cases, lawyers and doctors. Shout out Derek Jackson. They're sitting up here doubling up with these dudes. Now, this is who they prefer. They're steering around men who are better options. They prefer a specific type of degenerate behavior. And instead of you acknowledging that and saying the math makes it very clear what 80% of the females are doing, you're instead pointing at the guys talking about, well, I mean, if they make the babies, the females are targeting males who they can get pregnant by under raggedy circumstances. So can we discuss females' preferences? Why is this the common, typical female preference is simply to get pregnant by any degenerate that comes along with no standards? Why is that? Because those are the fathers, the men you're talking about, fathers who are leaving. Well, that's the bottom 20% of degenerates that the females have a taste for today. So can we discuss why the females have a taste for the bottom 20% of degenerates who don't want to be fathers? Why do they want to get pregnant by them? Let's have a conversation about that now.
Okay. I don't believe that
the math
women
makes it
at
clear.
large want to.
The math makes it clear that, yes, that's true. At large, yes. The math makes it very clear.
Okay.
This is
so if that is
my
the
opinion.
case,
This is math.
and that it is that they want to, I don't think that, but all I'm saying is that I don't think that they're thinking in their head that this is a degenerate man who does not want to be a father or who does not want to be in my home. Because if that was the case, then you would see rampant black males being in the homes of all other women. But they're not. They're leaving every other home the same way that they're leaving black women. So
ma'am,
it
that's
can't
that's
be
not
the case
true.
that
That's
black
not
women
true.
Are just,
well, that's not true. Let's not tell lies out here.
But
You
it
can't
is true.
you can't fabricate things like
But
that.
it
That's
is true.
ma'am, excuse
so,
me.
Okay, so
Low,
can I ask you a question?
Low,
If
excuse
you can
me.
be
We're not going to talk over
if you can be honest,
We're not going to talk over the host.
Okay.
You're not going to do that.
I'm not trying to
excuse
talk over
me.
you.
Excuse
I never
me.
have done that,
You're
and I
not
never
going to talk over the host. Now you're not going to do that. Now you're degenerate. You can be a disciplinary problem with your husband. Don't you dare try that again. Did you understand me when I say that to you?
I did.
Okay. Check yourself for real, for real. Now, as I was saying, what you just said is absolutely untrue. And I'm not going to let you monologue for 60 or 2 minutes for something that is a lie. So you can get 12 miles down the road with your lies. You're making things up because reality refutes what you wish to believe were true. These things are wrong and you just want to believe it's true because you want to believe that there's some equivalence between what black males and black females are doing, and there isn't. The math and the facts bear this out. When men get a woman pregnant, he suffers a penalty. There are laws that will punish him. There are no laws that punish females. There are only laws that help them and subsidize them. So the dynamic with these guys and the females is totally different. Now, when you talk about, quote, other homes, let's be very, very clear here. How old are you again?
I'm 28.
You're 28, which means you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're just talking these lies and fantasies you're making up because you wish to fabricate a reality that does not exist. We have been hearing black women complain
Can I not have done studies?
Okay, ma'am.
Can I not have?
Okay, let me try this again for the final time. And by the way, you're demonstrating that you're the degenerate type of hood rat that you claimed is not common. Yeah, you're kind of demonstrating that's what you are right now. So you are Exhibit A. By the way, when we talk about lack of ladylike behavior, ladies and gentlemen, Low from Dallas, I present Exhibit A. She thinks she's feminine, and this is 28. So remember when I told you all before that you say that you were a disciplinary problem, and I said the truth is, you still are. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. By the way, Exhibit A.
Because I'm not. All I was saying was based off of what you said.
I don't need you to talk.
You said the average man is struggling.
Ma'am, I don't need you to talk. I'm hosting my program, and
I'm going to be quiet.
When I'm done talking, then you can speak. This is not one of your hood rat barbecues where you all get around and cheat on your husbands and play whorish things. You don't come here on my program and do that. You do not behave the way that you do.
I apologize.
When you're hanging out with your auntie and them and y'all are trying to sleep with each other's boyfriends, you don't come here with that. You really don't.
Okay, I apologize.
You should apologize. You are a sorry state of being. You should. Now, as I was saying, the statistics and the facts are against you. Simply because you're in denial of it doesn't change it. Black women have been complaining for decades that first of all, the marriage statistics very clearly bear out that black men are not having nearly the problem getting married that black women are. Furthermore, they're not having the problems with relationships. But third of all, black men, as I said before, marriage is a benefit to females, not to males. Not the same way. So when women cannot get children and can't get married, it's a far different dynamic than a man who's walking around single. Now, you're not talking about any black males, that bottom 20% of degenerates, those are the only ones who are having children under those circumstances that you just referred to. It's not black men as a group. You're thinking that the same proportional dynamic that goes in place for black women is somehow applying to the men. I've explained this to you several times. Most black males today do not have children. Most black males today are single and don't have children. Now, you can't get around that. Most black females today do have children. So they are not equivalent. And you keep making up this lie that you keep trying to pass off that there's some equivalent that you're trying to tell yourself, well, this is how screwed up black women are, and this is how many of them got bastard kids, so there must be an equal proportion of the males doing it too. No, There is not. There isn't. And I just gave you the numbers that show that cannot be true. Now, what's happened is, because by your behavior is very clear, you hang out with a bunch of low-class gutter males, and in your mind, that's what everybody is like. But that's not true. And even if they had some similarities, the problem is they're not acting on it. The females are the ones getting pregnant willy-nilly by whoever, under whatever circumstances. The males are not doing that. And the numbers bear this out by virtue of the fact most black males today are single and do not have children. Now, that's a numerical, statistical fact. The females are having 3 and 4 kids by the same bottom 20% of males. Now, and then there's the 10 or 15% in between. Now, that's where those numbers that you're talking about the bottom 20%. And those are the ones that the white chicks, who the cast-offs, the white men don't want. They'll go off and go have a little biracial baby by one of those bum dudes. Well, yeah, that's that bottom 20%. Everybody knows that's what those fellas are good for. But they also know those fellas are not protectors and providers. But most females today believe that the society owes them a paycheck, a roof over their head, and food in their bloated bellies. So they don't look to men to, you've already shown how ignorant and naive you are. Females today do not look to males by and large to be protectors and providers. You sat here acting as if, oh, they do. No, they don't. They do not look to men to be their protectors and their providers. They've already demonstrated that. That's not the case. But you just talked as if it were. Well, most of them would be, but most females today do not look for that. As evidenced by the fact, strong and independent. I don't need a man even if I have a baby. You don't hear any females in their 20s talking about, setting up Facebook groups talking about, we are 25, childless, and ready to be married. You can't find a YouTube channel where there are dozens of females with tens of thousands of followers saying, I'm 25, single, childless, and ready to be married. Now, what you will find are tons of YouTube channels with black females in their 20s with hood radish attitudes like Present Company, and talking about hot girl summer, thought girl winter, and how they don't need a man and they're strong and independent with their baby mama bods. Now that you will find. You'll find plenty of those. But this lie that you just made up, you will not find that. Now, everyone, I'm either telling the truth about that or I'm making it up. So, Lo, can you please point all of us to where is the group of black females in their 20s, single, childless, and demanding to be married? Not talking about, well, I can get a baby and I'm cool with that because I got a job. Well, we see plenty of those. So if what you were saying is true, tell me, where can we find, show me a YouTube channel, a Facebook group, a Discord chat with black females in their 20s, childless, single, and discussing their lamenting that they want to get married. Where is it?
I did not say that you could find that.
Oh,
and I completely agree with you.
Okay.
Wait a minute. If I can, can I speak?
All right.
Because.
All right.
Okay.
Because if you can't do that, then you've just refuted everything you said. When I said what you said is bull crap, and that's why you don't need to talk. Yeah, you just refuted yourself. The demographic that you claimed, that fictional demographic you claimed, doesn't actually exist. And that's why I wouldn't let you sit here and monologue and lie.
I was speaking on the men.
Ma'am, the men are not having the same issue the females are having. The males are not out here creating degeneracy and dysfunction, except that bottom 20%. And you're trying to imprint that on the other 80% of males. And that's not something I'm going to let you make a lie of. I actually
am not, and I would never try to, because I have nephews, I have children that are around me that I would never want to be in that position. I don't want to see black men do anything but win. But is it not a fallacy to sit here and act like they are winning when they're not?
Okay, define.
Is it not a fallacy to say because you're not
define define winning. Define
even
winning.
If it's the bottom 20,
okay, define
what do you
winning.
mean?
You said it's a fallacy to say they're winning when they're not. Define winning.
There are less than 3% of black men in the the six-figure club. So how can we sit around and blame 80% of the women for going towards the top when there's 3% of them and there's
ma'am? Okay. First of all,
you won't let me
First of all, where did you get? You're sitting up here. You're telling, ma'am, where did you get that? Where did you get that from? Where did you get that from?
I'm respectful to your channel, and
okay,
I appreciate
ma'am. It's called hosting my program.
You're doing a disservice to sit here and act as though black.
Okay. What we're not going to have are hood rats sitting up here monologuing. Now, understand something. That's the type of stubbornness that makes her a disciplinary problem. When her husband says she's a disciplinary problem, that's it right there. Just understand that. She's literally sitting up here making up numbers because she wants to say that there's some equivalent between what's happening with black males and black females. And so the facts don't bear her out. There's no truth to the facts. So she's just going to make things up. Now, you know you're in a bad situation when you have to make things up. If you're going to throw a number out there, you gotta tell us where your number came from if you're going to refute the facts. You're going to have to say that. You're going to have to say that. So just understand, because the facts and the numbers are against her, she's resorting to lying. And usually what happens is folks will let you sit there and lie. You'll make up a number. Well, most black men got who making all these babies? The bottom 20%. Most black men got children. Actually, most black men do not. Well, most black men, they're getting other women pregnant. Actually, no, that's not either. Because most black males do not have children. Therefore, they're not getting anybody pregnant. That's the definition of don't have children. In her mind, you can be a person who's never gotten anybody pregnant and simultaneously be counted amongst having children. This is a person who wants to believe that that everybody is making the same mistake. That's what she wants to believe. And that was why I sat there and said from the beginning, no, you are a disciplinary problem. I said it from the very beginning. But just understand, there is no equivalent. There is no black male equivalent. No, this is a rare air that's being occupied by themselves. There are no black men posing on Instagram with their 8 and 9-year-old daughters, having their 8 and 9-year-old daughters holding the camera while he takes sexually suggestive pictures and posting on Instagram. There are no black males having their 10 and 12-year-old daughters hold the cameras while they sit up here and take sexually suggestive videos on TikTok. There's no equivalent to that. There's no similarity. You can't show me any of those. We can show you tons of black females out here twerking on their sons, twerking on their daughters, acting all kinds of nonsensical. You can't show me the videos of the males doing things like this. You can't show it. If you could, you would just go ahead and show me. But you can't do it. Instead, they're going to sit up and just say, well, it's out there somewhere. I mean, I can't show it to you there, but it's out there somewhere. So when facts go against them, they'll just lie. Well, it's out there. I mean, it's just as many black men doing it. No, that is not true at all. So just understand something here. As I said from the beginning, the problem is not with the men. Black motherhood is dead because black womanhood is in a coma. Black womanhood as a group today, I'm just gotta tell you, it's in the gutter. And we're gonna have to fish it out and clean it up. But the females are gonna have to get tired of being in the gutter. They're going to have to lose their taste for it. That's the problem. 80% of black women, 80% of black females are living a bottom 20%er life because they have a taste for the gutter. And this is where being inappropriately dressed, either because you're wearing too little or too much, you're dressed like you just climbed out of bed, you're walking through a 5-star hotel in your damn pajamas, in hair rollers, not presentable. You're walking down the beach looking a big soggy mess. You have a taste for that gutter, but then you just want the men to accept it. And to treat you as if that's what we see shouldn't have any bearing on how you're treated. Not so. Caller from area code 832, you're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Lil Rick in Houston.
Lil Rick in Houston, what's on your mind, brother?
Oh, wow. Say, Jason, man, as I viewed, your footage, it kind of reminded me of how the gay movement is pushed and promoted. Nowadays it's so much flamboyancy galore, except me, and that's what I saw, as you just went through Miami and showed us the different groups of women. It's like the love yourself movement, accept me as I am, no matter your weight, whether you're grossly underweight or overweight, no matter how many piercings you have in your face. I saw a lot of competition in your footage, Jason. And if it's one thing about women, they are very competitive. They always out trying to do each other, and especially black women. And the mainstream minded ones, they all follow the same trend, man. We see it in your footage, fake hair, fake nails, fake eyebrows, colored contacts, fake lashes, bisexuality, man, fitness, authenticity, knowledge of self, healthy eating habits. It's all been thrown out the window, Jason. And look, why they encourage this behavior, and they continue to have no shame? It's because it's too many of these thirsty brothers out here that's not used to sexy women.
Okay, let me back that up, brother. Now I got to be honest with you there. You say it's too many. Well, I guess it is too many if we're only counting the bottom 20%. I guess it is too many because the females are willing to man share the bottom 20% of degenerates so long as he's willing to accept her in that condition. Now, that's what's really going on is the females like, okay, if 60% of the males won't fool with us because we are just totally threw the hell off, then we will all settle for the bottom 20%. And this, unfortunately, is crossing cultural, professional, and socioeconomic lines, which is why the most down-and-out gutter hood rat on Section 8 or your local female attorney can both be found sleeping with the same soggy, no-good mama's boy.
Facts. Hey, still, at the end of the day, until more real men that you speak of show up, and not enough of these bottom of the barrel type brothers who shower them with love, who offer them oral pleasure and comment sections and don't even know their personal hygiene habits.
Well, here's the problem, brother. I hear what you're saying, but here's the problem. Take a look on your screen, and these fellas are being created. These single mama homes are factories that create these types of boys who grow into men who don't have any standards. So it's not like you and I are doing it. 80% of black boys are being born to single mothers. Single mothers, the first order of business is she became what she is because men of means and resources rejected her out of the gate. So she's raised, first order of business is raise your son to not reject you, which is why getting your son's adoration and attention on you and rubbing on you and feeling on you, they're okay with that to the point that it is inappropriate. And so they're the ones creating this factory of broken boys becoming broken men. They're the ones creating this factory of it. We're not.
Hey, man, I agree, man. B1, man.
Black First, brother, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Now, what we can do is create an environment where when these fellas come out here, we let them know they're off code. We let them know that ain't right because biologically and intrinsically, they know it isn't. Biologically and intrinsically, they know that this is not right. They know that this is not okay. They know that it's not right. The women are sitting up here abusing the boys, sexually abusing them by putting them in these positions. We just try to create an environment that when they're out of that and whatnot, they can see not everybody is like that because biologically and psychologically and physiologically, he knows this isn't correct. Caller from area code 786, you're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's B. Davis out of Miami.
All right, B. Davis out of Miami. What's on your mind, brother?
Man, I just had to call to show my appreciation. I've been listening to you for about 2 years now, and everything you're saying is straight facts. You're not telling no lies, man. I just wanted to say that. I appreciate you, man. B1.
Black First, brother, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me get a caller from area code 773. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Derek out of Chicago.
Daryl out of Chicago. What's on your mind?
How you doing, brother? Let me get somewhere quiet. My apologies from the work. Just give me a second. I just want to say, is it safe to say that our sisters nowadays, and I love black women, I miss them actually, but is it safe to say that the power that this society has unfortunately bestowed upon our sisters, that they don't want to relinquish that power in any way, and that's the cause of the silence?
Pretty much. Yes. In a nutshell, yes.
Wow.
In a nutshell, yes. That's what I'm saying. Right now, it's been cultivated that they would rather have a dysfunctional society that they get unearned privileges in, even if those are even if the privileges are crumbs, than to have a functional one where they would actually have to work. And that's the issue that we have. And it's in female nature. It is in female nature to submit and, to a protector and provider. But now we have this mutation where females who in no way whatsoever, they in no way whatsoever qualify for a protector and a provider in no way. And yet they are behaving with an entitlement mentality. So a female is supposed to earn the protection and provision of a specific male. She's supposed to earn the protection and provision of the male society in general. But we've now entered this mutation where they have an entitlement mentality. The same entitlement mentality is there of expectation, but with no responsibility on their part whatsoever. Now, that's where the corruption has happened. Let me get something for nothing. And you're supposed to get something for something. Now, it's not the same something that the males give, but this idea that you get something for nothing, that's a problem. And now they're trying to impose that on males in general. that we're just going to give them something for nothing, and that no matter how raggedy or bad they are all entitled to a husband. They are all entitled to an above average lifestyle. They are all entitled to a baby. They are all entitled to a happily ever after simply by virtue of being born. But there is no actual work or requirement on their part to get it. The only thing they have to do is have a working sex organ, and don't even have to use it. Don't even have to don't have to leverage it with you. They just have to have it. And if they got it, then from there, that's it. That's supposed to just be a meal ticket that opens all doors. And a lot of what's been said is a brutal wake-up call. So when when males as a group reject them, what now is happening is they are resorting to the bottom 20%. This has been going on now for 40 years. The government has subsidized it and has sanctioned it through law because they punish men who make a bunch of bastard kids. They reward females who do it. And so the females, but to get the bastard kids, you got to be willing to have some grimy gutter sex with a guy who's already spoken for. So your priority is not having a man who will take care of you. Your priority is get the baby because you don't have legal rights to the man unless he'll marry you. But you do have legal rights to benefits if you get a baby. And what do you think has been the priority that they've prioritized? Let me get a baby because I got legal rights to the baby and there are benefits that come from that, but I don't have legal rights to a man and he will get to have veto power. And I need to find a way to neutralize that veto power. And that's where it is. That's really where it is.
Oh. Thank you, brother. You put a name and a face on it. I've witnessed it my entire life. Pretty much, and I mean from the time I can start understanding things. But I've seen this mutation you talked about from the early 90s up until now. Back then, there was still black women who had an ounce of love and respect for the average black man. They used to compliment average black men and average black women used to compliment each other. They used to talk. They used to hang out. It was a beautiful thing that I remember. Nowadays, I ask brothers this question. I say, when was the last time I put the compliment? And they start scratching their head. So I know I've worked in a lot of different cities, California to St. Louis to Chicago. I landed here. I'm a motorcycle technician, and I drive heavy machinery overnight. But I've witnessed this mutation, brother, and thanks for putting a name and a face on it. I have been listening, and I need to become an avid donator, and I soon will. But thank you, brother, what you do and what you say, it is touching people, and I got the message.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Please do give us a call again. Let me get caller from area code 305. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
TBA. This your boy One Love 305 out of Miami and Alabama.
One Love out of Miami. Brother, I ain't trying to spit on your city, bro, but I just had to come down and I had to show everybody what's really going on and let them know. I mean, it's got some good parts to it, but some of the marketing and some of the way it's been presented that it's all roses and flower petals, I gotta let them know it ain't like that. It's some out of control thottery going on. It's off the chain, bro.
Man, you ain't even ripped the mask off, TBA. It's just people out there who never been to Disney World, and until they get there and realize, oh, this is really Disney World. And I done seen so many times when I call in, and when I say I'm in Alabama, out of Miami, comment section light up. What he moved there for? You just showed why. You just showed why, man. That's exactly what it is. Bayside. Oh, and by the way, it's pronounced Brickell, not Brickell. But that's neither here or there. But Bayside, as you saw from the ground floor, that is a shopping plaza. That is a shopping plaza. The nearest beach is 15, 20 minutes away. These tight assholes walking out there in bathing suits, they come from the house 50, 60 miles away in bathing suits and bikinis to come out there. None of them shopping. None of them shopping. Them foot draggers. We call them foot draggers. You sitting there walking around, you know you walk around Bayside, they got the free samples. of food. That's all they do. That's all they do. They walk around like that all day. You got to pay to park in Bayside. You have to pay about $15 to park. They catch the train, catch the bus, come out there, and hope they gonna catch something. So you showing exactly what it is. So I ain't even saying. You just showed exactly why I had to get the hell on from up out of there, because them chicks, they're so thirsty. And as far as the topic, Jason, that mom you showing right now, that's the same moms that when I used to go over to Smash, they'll put the baby to sleep. They'll bring them over to my house, put the baby to sleep. That baby be in the crib in the same room while she tooting it up, man. And now she got this dude taking pictures of her. But at the same time, if his uncle or someone to take him to a bachelor party, she'll be the one acting her ass. Talking about he don't need to be seeing no naked chick's ass. That's the same one. Just like Lo calling and sitting there talking about her husband is a leader, but she gonna make sure he don't watch this broadcast. He's a leader, but she was so off the chain as a discipline problem. She wouldn't know a leader. They were playing Simon Says, man. So you want it tonight, man.
Well, we'll see how much good it does them. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. When I was down in Brickell, taking footage here, as you all see, I was seeing all kinds of nonsense happening out the window. Didn't see any black men with their daughters taking pictures of them to post up on Instagram while the fellows were adjusting their Speedos. But unfortunately, it was more than one female with their sons taking pictures of them. That was the thing. They would get to these hotels they can't afford to be in. First order of business, after they check in, first order of business they would do is right here. They were going to sit up here and put on a bikini or something and then go straight to the balcony and get somebody to take some pictures, usually their kids, because there was no men, just a bunch of females with children or a bunch of females with each other. But there were no females being treated to an experience by a man, none who deserved it. Caller from area code 443, you're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Jason? How you doing tonight?
What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Dre, man, and I spoke with you probably like a few weeks back ago, man, and man, I just love what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And these single mothers, I don't want to be off topic, but these single mothers out here, just they just off the chain, man, and it's going to take a lot of work. And I just want to let you know, man, I appreciate the work that you're doing. And I ain't even going to lie, man, you the teacher of the class, man. You actually the master of the class. I gave you a props last time. And I'll be honest with you, man, I Kitten Hills, he on the same topic you on too, and I like to see you brothers, work together, man. That's what I really call
I think that's a great idea. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time Kitten Heels allowed you to call into his program so you could collaborate with him?
Well, you know what?
Okay, that's a yes. Whoa, that's a date question. When did he allow you to call in to his?
You're right.
When
he ain't gonna do that right now.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. Then one last question. What type of worldwide Olympic medal winning dumbass goes around promoting somebody who won't even let them speak to him? So why would you come to my platform for someone who won't even let you talk? I wouldn't be dumb enough to promote someone who wouldn't let me speak.
That's true, sir.
That's true. I wouldn't be stupid enough to give props to somebody who would not even let me talk. So you're on somebody else's platform to talk because the guy you want to give props to, you're such a bootlick, he won't even let you speak to him, but you steady like, matter of fact, I think they're great. I would never be dumb. I'd never be dumb enough to give somebody props like that. I just wouldn't.
Jay, I never call his platform, but all I'm just saying is,
because then why would you, if you never called his, then you shouldn't call mine either.
You know what? I disrespect you a lot, man. I think you just,
I think that you need to take some remedial classes. But by the way, I would never give props to somebody and call somebody else's platform because they won't let me speak. By the way, I would never be dumb enough to do that. Some of y'all need to reconcile with your fathers. I just thought some of y'all need to go reconcile with your fathers because you kind of look silly out here. Just making an observation. Caller of America code 857, you're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello, Jason. How you doing, sir? My name's James from Boston.
James from Boston, what's on your mind?
Jason, do you think a lot of our sisters suffer from Stockholm Syndrome?
Yes.
Because it's very apparent throughout the years I've listened to you, throughout my observations. It just seems like the amount of self-destruction is through the roof. You brought up, like, how you wouldn't see black men have their daughters post things on Instagram. There was a recent something I think on Media Takeout. You had a mother and a daughter sharing sex tapes.
Yes.
And I scratched my head, man. I think the mother was in her mid-40s and the daughter was in her mid-20s. And I said, what type of craziness is that to have two women or a mother allow her daughter to share a sex tape? And when I hear some of these sisters try to point the finger at brothers, it comes to a point where it's just like, to me, it's like I'm looking at them as they must be mentally insane. Like they're all in asylum homes, because some of these behaviors can't even justify, you know what I'm saying, individual's mindset to perpetuate some of these things that make no logical sense.
Well, I mean, but you have to understand, left to its own devices, females by definition are nurturing, and left to their own devices, you can nurture something into deviancy. Because remember, the way in which females deal better with infants than they do once the kids start walking around. Who becomes the biggest abusers of children? So women, by and large, they're not the biggest abusers. They are the biggest abusers of children across the board. But other than postpartum depression, it really takes off when the children can walk around. When it is time to discipline the children and start molding them into disciplined beings, that's when it becomes a problem. So they're really good at dealing with infants and empathizing. Okay, the infant starts crying and she starts empathizing with why he's doing it. Does he need to be fed? Does he need to be changed? Is he itching? Is he sick? Women tend to deal well with that. The problem comes when it's time to discipline. And that nurturing ability doesn't work anymore. You can nurture an infant, but you're going to have to reason and deal with a thinking child who is becoming an adolescent. Now, that's where it goes in a different direction. Now she's going to start lashing out and being abusive because that nurturing, coddling thing doesn't work over here. Your daughters are going to backlash because a 12-year-old girl ain't looking to be coddled by another female. And your sons are not going to take to it well because now you're going to soften him to a point that is anathema to his nature. So we've allowed the females to hold on too long. And what they're supposed to do is wean the babies from being helpless to being self-sufficient. But instead, we've created an environment where the females are just smothering the babies. And now they're using them as toys. And this is a child, not a toy. This is a person, not your toy. And we've allowed that to become the situation where they feel they've actually got rights to the point that, okay, they're not children, they're not people, they're toys. So we've allowed that nurturing, the nurturing position has been corrupted. It's been taken to a dangerous extreme. And some of this is government engineering, but I can only blame government to a certain point because you're supposed to get to a point where you reject it. You're not supposed to sit up here and fall for the bait. That's not what you're supposed to do.
Wow.
When you see a trap, you're supposed to say no to it. So I gotta put responsibility and accountability where it belongs.
I have one more question for you, Jason. Why do you think women in this day and era, with all the data, factual data, still hold on to the old narratives, as the woman that previously called the one that had disciplinary actions, keeps bringing up that men are not this, men are not that, men are having all these babies, where it's very clear with all the information you've putting out, as many men that are listening, as many men are actually having conversation, as many men are actually wising up, women are still bringing up these old narratives, and basically are just they're becoming not to exist anymore.
Well, because they've been allowed to have a one-sided conversation for so long that when you're allowed to fabricate your own reality, it goes beyond Stockholm Syndrome. They've created a fantasy world, and nobody has, by and large, called them out on it. The government has condoned it. Corporate America has encouraged it and enabled it. The school systems have played along with it. There's a lot of money to be made and a lot of control to be made by having a society led by a group of people led by their women. Now, take a look at the United States government.
Gotcha.
The United States government is 90% white male. Think about this for a few moments now. See the method to the madness. Now take a look at the institutions. Wait. Pump your brakes and tell Kitten Heels, you got to pay me for my line. Pump your brakes. Holding court. Take a look at the institutions that I just named to you a few moments ago. Take a look at them. Well, I just named. I named the government. 90% of government is white male. Take a look at the corporations. 90% of your multinational corporations are led by whom? White males.
White males.
Take a look at your educational institutions. Oh, it's 720 degrees of knowledge and insight and analysis you'll receive absolutely nowhere else. The majority of your higher education systems are run by white males. Now, it's not 90% once you get into education, but let's just be very, very clear. Damn near 100% of the endowments are paid for by whom? Oh, with your Ivy League schools. Who pays those big rich-ass endowments? And those alumni associations are controlled by whom? Your clubs, I'm talking about the ones that have real power, Skull and Bones. Anybody? Oh man. Oh man. Am I showing you all some things you hadn't thought of here before?
You slapped me across my head.
While some of your folk can spritz on some cologne and can pretend that their fraternities are pulling some weight, they ain't running nothing. The folks who actually run those things and actually control the power, wealth, and influence, the majority of them are white males. And guess what? Each one of those institutions is perfectly fine. As a matter of fact, they've made it their bread and butter to solicit that, you know what, the black females can do this as well as the males. As a matter of fact, you should be doing this. As a matter of fact, if your boys are gay, hey, we think that's great. We're accepting them. This is societal warfare on a diabolical level. Have you forgotten who it was who was giving people smallpox-infected blankets? Have you forgotten who it was that using disease as warfare, trying to make sure that when you harm people, your fingerprints are as far away from the scene of the crime as possible? You only put your fingerprints on it if you absolutely have to. But you prefer to use a proxy. Who is it who created the art of proxy war? What is proxy war? Oh, well, I'm going to engineer somebody else to take action against you. Now, he wasn't going to do anything to you before, but I think I figured out a way to engineer him to take aggressive action against you. And when you fight back, you're not going to come at me. You're going to come at him. So all I got to do is keep arming him and keep him supplied, and he will continue to fight the war for me. And you got to get through him to get to me. Now, what are you seeing now in Asia? Why do you think China is so damn hard line against Western media right now? They're hard line against Western media right now because they understand what's been going on in the Middle East. Take a look at all the governments that they knocked off over there. From Saddam, actually, I shouldn't even say Saddam Hussein. We really would have to go back to Mohammed Mossadegh, to be totally honest with you, and probably before that, as a matter of fact. So take a look at what they've been doing now for 5 decades in the Middle East. And what's the first thing they do? Oh, y'all need to let women run things? Their society got where it is because of the kings and the princes. So what's the first thing that the white men from the West came in and said? Y'all need to let the women run things. Well, the women have not been conditioned and groomed to run anything. That's going to be, even if we were inclined to do that, that it would still take decades and decades. Oh, good. You better start now. You better just let the women in now and let them run it from where they are. You guys need to get out the way and let the women run it, is what you need to do. That's what they're doing in the Middle East now. Then they're telling them, oh yeah, and by the way, the biggest issue in the Middle East is LGBT rights. Y'all need to focus on women's rights and LGBT rights. What you don't need to focus on are the white corporations that have literally got tanks and airplanes dropping bombs on your cities. Now that you don't need to worry about. You don't need to worry about the white corporations that have literally put soldiers and mercenaries around your oil wells to take your resources. Now that you don't need to worry about. As a matter of fact, you're bad people. If you rise up against that, you're bad people. You're insurgents. You're terrorists. You need to be focused on real issues like LGBT rights and women getting driver's licenses. Don't worry about those bombs being dropped and those oil wells being taken over by our corporations. Proxy war, brother. Misdirection. These people have been doing this now literally for centuries. So when you take a look at Asia, who is it that's got different parts of Asia with animosity towards each other, whether it's Indochina and Japan, North Korea, South Korea, North Vietnam, South Vietnam? Take a look at everywhere they go, they divide the area in half and say, all right, slug it out. And then next thing you know, you look up in all these places, and at the end of the day, there's a damn movie theater and a McDonald's. I thought this was a war zone. No, these are war tactics, and they've got many different kinds. So we've just been the biggest beneficiaries of one of the most insidious kind, but this is something that they've perfected over the course of decades. They perfected this over the course of decades. Misdirection, and while we're worried about social, they find the weakest link and then they exploit that. That's why it is so essential to make sure that black males do not acquire socioeconomic power. Why? Because as men, it is in our biological nature to be competitive. That's the difference. You see, when a woman encounters a savage, she either attempts to nurture the beast or she surrenders to him. And she's either going to get killed or whatever's going to happen to her. I'm not talking about just men. I'm talking about men, animals. When a woman encounters a wild beast, whether it be human or inhuman, she is either going to attempt to calm it down and nurture it, or she is going to surrender to it. As men, we do neither. We don't attempt to calm it down. We attempt to neutralize the threat. When we encounter a savage, whether that savage be Homo sapien or otherwise, we don't try to nurture it. We don't try to understand it. I don't really care why you're hissing at me. I don't really care why you're growling at me. I know all I need to know. You're a threat. As a man, I neutralize threats. So you see, but the only way I don't neutralize you is if I don't have the power to do so. So if you're dealing with a malevolent government, a malevolent society that is attempting to undermine you from within, well, then what's the first thing that they know they're going to have to do? Well, we got to keep you powerless because it is in your nature to resist us. So as if you don't have socioeconomic power, and if it is easy for even women and children to defy your authority because you have no authority, because we've deprived you of it, and if we see you start to get it, understand something. There were plenty of black men that they could have given a talk show to. They passed them all over for Oprah Winfrey. Now you're old enough. You're old enough to remember that there were plenty of black men who could have gotten that slot way before Oprah. Way before her. They leapfrogged all those men and gave it to her. And then after they gave it to her, they tried to prop up all the others, Rolanda Watts and Gayle King, and they were a bunch of Queen Latifah, Mother Jones. We can go down the list. They didn't try to find a group of black males, certainly not masculine. And once they made it very clear what type they wanted, here comes Steve Harvey. So they got butt kissers. But brother, there were plenty of black men back in the late 70s and early 80s that they could have gotten. They chose one that they knew would forward the strategy and promote the narrative that they were trying to promote. They knew what they were doing. They've always known who the weakest link was. It's an art of warfare. Find the weakest link and exploit it. Empower the weakest link. Leave them on the inside. Promote them. Promote animosity. Promote insubordination. Yeah. Now, if you attempt to go where they are and try that, they'll kill you. Now, you try to go into the dominant society and sow similar discord, and they'll kill you. You try that in Asian society, go into Chinatown, and you attempt to incite gender conflict and pit the Asian female against the Asian male. Watch what happens to you if you try it. Go in Arab society and try it. Go do these exact same things over there. You go try to give an Arab woman a TV show so she can wag her finger at Arab men. Watch what they do to you. Not just her. Watch what they do to you.
Yeah.
So they understand what they're doing. I want you to understand, this is not me just making it up. If you walk this down and you go look under all the leaves and all the branches and see what I'm talking about here, it'll make sense to you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight.
Thanks.
Caller from area code 651, you're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, my name is Niles. I'm from Minnesota.
Niles from Minnesota. What's on your mind?
I was just listening to some of the things you were saying, and a general overview I agree with. I think there's some flaws in the logic, but I don't really know where to start because you kind of covered a lot of the area.
Okay, let me find out here, sir. You say you're from Minnesota. Your name is Niles. How old are you?
46.
Okay, you're 46. You're far from a child. And are you a black male, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what exactly is it that you disagree with?
Well, I don't know. Can we pick a topic and go from there? Because
you're the one who is called in. If you cannot articulate what you disagree with, then you might want to start re-examining whether you're qualified to disagree with anything at all, and probably just need to sit back and learn.
Okay, I don't need to condescend here. I was asked to call in.
It's not condescending, sir. You're the one who said I disagree with something and you cannot articulate what you disagree with. This is called basic lack of speaking and comprehension. I'm just pointing out the obvious.
Fine. Then let's begin with your general thought about some sort of vast conspiracy against the black man. Now, I'm not going to say that doesn't hold some weight. It does. It definitely does. I just don't think it goes to the extent or the purpose that you say. I don't think it's a cabal against the black man. I think it's more of a accumulation of events throughout time that has led in that direction.
Was it here's the real thing. Did it happen naturally, or were there conscious people making laws and social policy that created it into being?
It started out with the institution of slavery.
Okay, was the
addressed.
institution of slavery the result of conscious behavior?
To this.
Sir, was the institution of slavery a result of conscious behavior and policy?
Yes.
Oh, so you are admitting that the genesis of it is in fact a cabal and conspiracy, that is a group of people who conspired and came up with a plan of action. Thank you for disproving your own point. Would you like to move on to the next one?
No, I don't think we're done with that one yet. What I'm saying is that
we are. You just don't know it yet.
As an economic way to make profit, which is in the same boat we're in right now. It's just a different face.
Okay, then why is it that they didn't make it a priority to enslave white people then?
Well, people can't enslave themselves. They're the ones that came up with the idea.
Not true, sir. The first slaves actually were European women. You're very unknowledgeable and uninformed about basics history.
We're not talking about ancient slavery. We're talking
no, sir. I'm not talking about ancient.
Slavery.
I'm not talking about ancient
slavery of African.
I'm not talking about ancient slavery either, sir. You're very ignorant about history in general. You should just sit back and learn. I don't know where you got your doctorate from, but you don't know very much.
Because I believe you are ignorant.
And you literally just showed us all that you think that enslaving white women was ancient history.
You want to paint it. You want to paint it as some sort of cabal and thing when it's more a matter of really mismanaged.
This guy literally just sat here and said that the enslavement of white women was, quote, ancient history. Folks, this is the level of intellect you need to have.
Who's enslaving white women?
Sir, white women were property. Did you not know this? Clearly, you didn't. You're just discovering this now tonight.
To call that slavery.
Actually, sir, the first slaves were white women because they were legal property. White men could literally walk into the village, throw your 10-year-old daughter over their shoulder, and walk off with her. She was like a cattle or anything else. In English law, the rule of thumb. Sir, there are basics you need to learn about. You don't know the basics of slavery. So you really aren't in no position to dispute anything when you don't know the basics of Anglo-Saxon history and that black people walked off into it. First of all,
what are you talking about?
First of all,
out allegations of my lack of knowledge.
You just proved it. This is not an allegation. This is not an allegation.
Condescending your way through it.
This is not an allegation. I asked you what you know, and you told me. You just sat here and articulated that you didn't know the basics. That the first slaves were white females.
Conversation, and you're just hurling insults.
No, okay. I asked. You tried to have a conversation. I can't converse with someone who doesn't know anything. I can only teach you.
You haven't tried.
I'm here to teach you now. So you just be quiet, and it's time for you to learn and get ganged up. This is basic history 101. Sir, this is not condescending. Your lack of information just, sir,
someone who won't listen.
It is not condescension for me to simply make it clear that you and I are not on the same level of knowledge. That just because it makes you feel bad is not condescension.
That is the definition of condescension.
No, sir. Condescension would be me attempting to...
Look it up in the dictionary.
Sir, condescension would be me attempting to be sarcastic for the sake of being sarcastic.
That is not the definition of condescension.
No, sir. I know something you do not know, and you attempting to pretend that you do know it makes you feel bad. That's not condescension.
This conversation has gone nowhere.
It's gone somewhere. It's gone somewhere, all right. It's gone straight to Sesame Street. You do not know the very basics of this. I didn't embarrass you. You embarrassed yourself. You embarrassed yourself. I didn't do it to you. You did it. I'm just reporting the news. And yes, he didn't sound black to me either. But that's neither here nor there. Let's be very, very clear. Let's be very, very clear. First thing he did right out of the gate was admit that, oh yeah, it was a conscious decision. Very first thing right out of the gate. Very first thing right out of the gate. No, you didn't end up where you are by accident. Not by those who started it, nor by those who continue to perpetuate it, whether it is by the original instigators or their modern day collaborators within the society. It's not accidental. Not at all. Caller from area code 510. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good evening, Jason. This is Black Voltron out of West Oakland, California.
Black Voltron out of Oakland. What's on your mind, brother?
Laughing at that last call. It's like the male babble spoiling. Somebody got in their feelings. Got a little butthurt and he couldn't take the heat. Maybe should have left the mayonnaise on the stove for a little while.
Perhaps.
But anyway, what got me, is really bothering me is this video you took of this hood rat, man. It's on the screen right now with her son taking side pictures of her ass and everything else, her titties and everything all out. And I mean, we got to be honest, man. This ain't no new phenomenon. I feel personally, just, this bothers me to the utmost. I saw this up close within my own family. I'll just say it was an in-law, former in-law, and she had a couple sons. And she was doing the same thing back in the 90s, man. And the thing that got me, that just really bothered me, is like, she was raised with a mother and a father. And she knew the difference between right and wrong. I'm not accepting any bullshit-ass excuses from these females talking about they got PTSD, they got this, they got that. Bullshit, okay? They had mamas and they had grandmothers. They chose not to listen. This is just pure selfishness and pure I don't give a fuckism. You don't give a fuck about your child. You don't give a fuck about the next generation. You don't give a fuck about the damage you're causing within the black community and black society. You know damn well you wasn't raised to show your ass off and have your damn son take Instagram pictures. All right? Could you imagine your mama, your grandmother, your grandmother's grandmother, your grandmother's grandmother, all the way back up to slavery doing this bullshit? Or even worse, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Ida B. Wells. I mean, come on, man. This is, when they say that they, are going through whatever traumatic problems they're going through, that does not negate your maternal instincts.
Well,
you choose to
what you're seeing though, Voltron.
You don't.
What you're seeing is this is the very definition of degeneracy. And by that I mean to degenerate. Each successive generation, it's not just staying the same. They're picking up new tricks, they're picking up new corruptions, they're picking up new grime. They're getting worse. So it doesn't just, it's not like you pick up a set of bad habits and then those bad habits become yours. And if you do have kids, they get the same bad habits. Your bad habits are bad. The next generation is going to get worse. The third generation is going to be reeking, stinking with all kinds of things that just 2 generations prior. And the folks who started the degeneracy would be like, ooh, that's real bad. Them kids are real messed up. It's like, wait a minute, but what about when you were out there roaming them streets back in the 60s? Back when your folks told you, not to be showing your underwear at the sock hop, and you were doing that. Now you've gotten to a point where your daughter's showing her ass on Instagram while she's off in southern Florida getting run up on by 3 dudes in a hotel somewhere. Yeah, you don't want to see the connection between that. But it's like, well, it's not the same thing. Actually, it's a result of what you did. That's the definition of degeneracy. If we let this, where it starts is not where it's going to end. It's going to get worse. This is where you end. I mean, it starts off with somebody showing their ass. It ends up with R. Kelly.
But I got to disagree with you because, yes, it did start with degeneracy. And we've seen, white supremacist society, utilize all 9 areas of activity to push this agenda on how to destroy and emasculate the black man any and all ways possible. But there's the one thing that we still have. We're still human beings, and we still have free will, and we still have choice. You choose to act like that, no matter, I mean, let's be real. My mama raised me and told me, if everybody's going to jump off the goddamn Golden Gate Bridge, is your black ass going to do the same thing? And I said, no, that's stupid, Mom. Why would I do something silly like that? They're going to kill themselves. That's my point. You don't follow the crowd, okay? These women, no matter what they say, somebody told them within their life that, you have a choice between right and wrong. Whether you choose to do so is up to you. Look, this particular person, she had a son. Well, she had two sons, actually. But the younger one, she regularly abused him when he was a baby. I remember her leaving her son in her car seat for fucking 2 months straight, to the point where he had a bald spot on the back of his head. And this is before I had my daughter. Okay, so I'm sitting up here looking at her like, bitch, what the fuck is wrong with you? Take your fucking son out the goddamn car carrier and let him sleep in the crib or on the bed. You don't fucking do that shit because you're too fucking lazy to take him out the fucking bed. The fuck is wrong with you? And, she's gonna laugh and giggle and all that shit, but she too busy, wearing the tightest outfits, dotting it up. We talking the late 90s, dude.
Right,
so this ain't no new phenomenon.
The other thing that's not new. Well, the other thing that's not new though is that they have gotten black women to be the overseers of the black plantation, is what they've done. So, for example, why do you think it is that these schools and whatnot are so gung-ho to encourage black females to pursue those useless degrees, sociology and psychology? Because they know that sociology and psychology really only qualify you to do only one or two things. You can be a teacher or you can be a social worker. So in the Atlanta school district, as you all know, in the Atlanta school district, that's just one of many, the majority of the teachers are black females. And what were they doing for over a decade? They were passing the kids through class. And now you got at least a generation, maybe two, of young black kids who can't read, can't write, and the black female teachers got together as a group and were just passing them. Or you end up in a situation where social work is concerned, the black children today have no protection because the majority of the social workers, unfortunately, are black females, and the sisterhood protects them. So we're burying black children every week because the black female social workers do not do their job against black females who are abusing their children. So even in a situation like the one you just named, that's what's happening. So when we talk about this kind of thing going on, it is widespread, it is endemic, and the system knows what they're doing. Now, as black males, we understand that as if we became police officers, there'd be no way that we'd be able to get away with anything. There's no way you could do that. If you saw my film Race War, you saw Brian Bentley. He tried to be the one good cop. You saw what happened to the one good cop. They were like, oh, don't think there's so many officers in the LA Police Department that we can't figure out if you ain't towing the line. If you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, if you're the one who isn't doing what he's supposed to be doing, we will know and we will take action. So the dynamic that protects them in social work and schools, this as black men, we know that there won't be a protection for us if we attempted the same thing. So what does that tell you? They're protecting it to maneuver and operate the way it's supposed to. This amount of degeneracy and degradation, this is the plan.
But I got to say again, man, it's still a choice. These black women, and I'm going to say black men too, because we as black men are complicit in this. I mean, let's be real. The father to these children just totally abandoned them. All right. We as black men, by and large, have abandoned our children. And we just said, fuck it. We're just going to go along, get along, because, we're tired of fighting these motherfuckers and fighting the system to go along with it. But that was the wrong move too. I mean, that motivate me seeing that shit, and and the manifestation of that, come 25 years later, This youngster's in prison right now, for armed robbery. Surprise, right?
On the one hand,
that's for his whole life.
On the one hand,
I'm not going to.
Well, on the one hand, I understand what you're saying, Voltron. On the one hand, I understand that, but on the other hand, when you consider that the majority of us don't have children, so it can't be. I understand what you're saying. I mean, I started the Black channel. Of course, I understand what you're saying, but the majority of us are actually not fathers, and fathers. With fatherhood comes rights, okay? Let's be very, very clear. There's a key distinction between being the black male in the neighborhood and being a father. A father has rights. A father has enforceable rights. A father doesn't just have privileges. He doesn't just have obligations. He's also got rights. I do as much as I can, and I've done a lot more than a lot of fellas out there have. And I don't have any biological children, but let's be very, very clear. You got kids, but you have rights. So, of course, we can talk about what you do or do not do, but for the 63% of us who don't have any children at all, where are our rights? Where is our power to abandon or not abandon all these other people's kids? Because when you're talking about not taking care of our kids, let's be clear. When you say our, for you, it's our, but for me, it's our with quotations around it. Because in reality, when we talk about our kids, I'm talking about yours. When I'm talking about protecting black children, I'm not talking about Jason Black's. I'm talking about Voltron's, not mine. So I understand what you're saying. I agree with it absolutely, and that's no reason not to do everything you can. I certainly have tried to live my life is the epitome of that. But just to put it in its proper context. Every woman who has a child, that's hers. And the majority of females today have children. What they're doing is doubling and tripling up on the same bottom 20% of dudes. The majority of the males, however, do not. And along with that not having any children, we don't have any rights. There's a reason why you don't see us marching like that. Women can get together and talk about marching for women's quote unquote rights. Well, they're out here exercising their quote right to have children. But if I don't have any kids, I'm not really motivated to make a march on Washington for fathers. How can there can be a motherhood march on Washington. Where's my motivation to march on Washington for fathers if I don't have any children? Because there are just certain things that don't affect me directly in that way that I just don't relate to. And without that, it becomes a problem. So I get what you're saying. It's absolutely right. As men, we certainly need to take care of that and need to be concerned about that. Absolutely. But the focus needs to be on what do we do about that bottom 20%? Who are the sperm donors that the 60% of females are doubling and tripling up on. Whether the females came from two-parent homes or not, they're looking for the first degenerate they can get their legs around to have the children. And then the other 40% of the females who are back in their play because it empowers them as females. If there's going to be a trash heap, she'll be on top of it. What do we do about them? That I think that's the real question.
I mean, some people say, it's time to write them off and, let them die. I mean, we're getting to, that level now. I mean, I've been hearing it for a little while now. I'm starting to see it bubble up more and more that, we're at the point where we need to write off that section of black society, the black community, that are hood rats and hood boogers and stuff, producing these little nigglets run around who grow up to be doing all these drive-by shootings and shooting everybody up and down the block, with the shoot 'em up bang bang gang. I mean, what do we do? It's getting to the point now where when I see that shit, it's like, fuck them. They probably some hood rat ass bitches. They probably deserve to have they fucking fucked up kids die. I'm getting that cold hearted. So I'm not really sure. Only thing I can do is raise my daughter and my nephew and everybody within my realm personally to the best of my ability as be one black man. Maybe take upon, a few more children in the community and stuff, support other people who are doing the same thing like you are and, and other organizations. But I mean, let's be real, man, we're at a critical stage and it's getting to the point where we have to cut the fat, cut the wheat and the tear. And if they're going to be destructive to our community to the point where they're killing us, it's survival. You know, you got cancer, you go in, you cut that goddamn cancer out, even if it means that organ, that spleen, that liver, whatever has to go, then it has to go. And we're at that point now. Time to cut them.
Well, certainly, like I say, I mean, I've always talked about thinning the herd, and that's something to keep in mind because there's only so much we can do. There's only so many resources we have to offer. And at some point, you know, we need to put those resources where they'll do the most good. And that's important. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, Black Voltron. As always, let me get called from area code 914. You're on live with The Business. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Mark. I'm calling from New York.
Mark from New York. What's on your mind? Well, where at in New York you calling
from? Yes, sir. Westchester County.
Okay, let me try this one more time here. Mark, where in New York are you calling from, sir?
I'm calling from Terrytown, New York.
There you go, Mark. Thank you very much, sir. You're calling from Terrytown. Yes, sir. I've been there a few times. Whitestone Bridge, the village of Terrytown. Yes. You go down that damn slope that goes down to the dock and the marina down there. There's the train that can bring you up from New York all the way up there, sir. There's also the next village up the street where the cops are on every corner. Yes, sir. It's a city in a town, not a county. Hello, Mark from Terrytown. And yes, I get around. Hello. And yes, I get around just that much that I can tell you about all those places. Yes, sir, I can. What's on your mind, Mark?
Well, I was calling. I enjoyed the show, and I wanted to touch on a couple of points that you've made earlier. And you just spoke, the gentleman you just spoke with who talked about cutting out the cancer. You know, when you talk about the fact that we are, or should be, as black men, on a war footing with the perpetrators of white supremacy, doesn't that then entail for, say, the 80% of good men that you describe, that we be on a war footing with the people from our own community?
Well,
I'm certainly at the point where I agree.
You certainly need to focus on the enemies from without and within. Now, you certainly need to focus on that because you can't go to war with enemies on the outside.
90 seconds.
If you have dissidents, if you've got dissidents on the inside, lack of discipline, individuality is the enemy of discipline. Let's be very, very clear. You can't have a group of people who are individuals and simultaneously disciplined. Those two things are contrary. They can be disciplined, or they can be they can work as individuals, or they can work as a unit. But you can't work as a unit and be individual. So yes, you must be prepared to deal with dissidents. Absolutely.
Well, I'm in my mid-50s, and I'm old enough. Although I live here now, I grew up in Chicago, and I'm old enough to remember my grandmother, my aunts, all of whom came up from the South, from Louisiana. And when I compare the women of today with women from that generation, what it seems to me, and some men also, that we're suffering from two main problems. First of all, a loss of propriety, in the sense, and I'm not a religious person. I don't even consider myself a spiritual person. In some ways, I think that religion has harmed the African American community in some ways more than it's helped. But I remember a generation of women who would never dare step outside of their front doors with a bonnet on or with their pajamas. Or my grandmother didn't allow us to walk outside in I guess they call them wife beaters now, or undershirts, you know, just to go out and play with our friends across the street. The other thing I feel like we're suffering from as a community, and you know how they say when white America catches a cold, black America catches the flu. I feel that there's an immense wave of narcissism that is taking over this country. And I feel that the women in question, the hood rats that you described, when you see them doing that video that you're showing is so horrible. It's so distressing to watch that boy taking pictures of his mother that way. But I know where that comes from. It's the social media, and we all use social media. We all enjoy it, but it's inculcated a kind of a psychotic narcissism among an entire generation, or maybe now a couple of generations of women. And I think one of the main elements of narcissism is a loss of empathy. And I don't mean just empathy for their children, as you said earlier. Yes, they're good at, taking care when the baby cries. And I'm not even sure I attribute that to many of these ladies these days. But there is a sense of empathy for the larger community that I feel is missing from these folks. There is a civic responsibility, and I know I sound like an old fuddy-duddy when I say things like that, but I remember a sense of community, and in some ways that was a part of the Black church, that was a part of the civil rights movement. I don't know that I would say it was a part of the feminist movement, but that didn't have anything to do with Black folks anyway. So I feel that we're suffering from just a complicated lack of propriety and we're dying from narcissism. And so my question becomes, as you said a minute ago, and as the gentleman just said a few minutes ago, what are we talking about? Enforced sterilization? Are we talking about a violent solution to members of our own community? We don't control the levers of government. We don't control the levers of finance. We don't control who gets welfare and all of that stuff.
Well, that is very, very true. So now we are going to get to the real point of it which is, Jason, you're the guy who lays these things down. You're not the fellow who goes around talking about what needs to be done and doesn't know what needs to be done about it. When you talk about being on a war footing, brother, and understand something, I take my cues from the elder gods of state, going back as far as you wish to. I am dealing against a system, and I am up against a system that is so diabolical that it has succeeded. I mean, what you have to do, first of all, if you're going to go into war, you got to be clear and honest with yourself about the circumstances under which you're fighting. You're going to have to do reconnaissance, and you're going to have to get intel. But you're also going to have to determine what is, the situation. What are you actually up against? So what are you actually up against? You are up against an enemy who is outrageously well-financed. They conquered the theater of war centuries ago. You're not able to stop them from conquering them. This fight was over centuries ago. They successfully conquered the entire planet, and now they've moved on, damn me, the moon and Mars at this point. They are literally, the three of the richest men on Earth right now are literally all fighting on who's going to get to Mars first. Richard Branson, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos. Literally. That's how far away they've broken out in front of us.
Right.
You're dealing with an enemy who part of their modus operandi is proxy war, destabilizing enemies from within, psychological warfare. Down the line, that's one of the main things they work on, is being able to knock somebody out. I mean, they studied Sun Tzu and everything. How do I knock somebody out without ever touching him? How do I stop him before he even gets started? How can I instigate internal strife to the point that he's not really able to ever focus on me because I've sown so much discord where he is? He's got his hands full on that. How do I fight these How do I fight him indirectly? How do I do that? How do you deal?
How do you
you're
get
going
him
to
to
go to war
take
against?
himself out?
Well, okay, you're going to go to war against somebody who has succeeded. We have to face the facts. Somebody who has succeeded in appealing to, in unfortunately corrupting enough of the females that you've gotten them as a group. You've gotten them to collaborate with the very folk you're fighting. Now, this is the situation. This is exactly where you are. This is where you really stand. You are facing enemies from without, and you are facing opposition from within. Now that we have clarified the situation in which you find yourself, and that you as the black man are the last and the only line of defense and line of opposition left. Now you have to be aware of, well, what do you do? First of all, is there anything you can do? Yes, there is. But you must be aware of what you really are now. You're insurgents. You are a small group. You're a small group fighting a gigantic opposition. So, do we have precedents in history of small groups that have stood up against gigantic opposition and won? Well, of course we do. Of course we do. But how do you do it? We can talk about Hannibal or whatever. That's perfectly fine. But Hannibal, Shaka Zulu, we can go down the list. But how do you do it? How do you do it? First and foremost, we don't need the majority of black males to get on the same page. Furthermore, we don't want it. Oh man, that sounds really crazy to say that. We don't need the majority of black males to get on the same page. Furthermore, we don't want it. You know why? Because when a movement becomes too large, it invariably becomes infected with heresy and apostasy. So if you want this thing to really be strong, you're going to need to keep it as tight as you can, as long as you can. Because purity of a movement is what ensures that once it does reach that critical mass of size, it is a critical mass of size that is still moving in the right direction and still has the right principles. So if you attempt to blow this up as quick as you can, what you're going to end up doing is recruiting a bunch of people who are already broken, corrupted, and diseased and ain't interested in going nowhere. That's what you're going to do. So as difficult as it is to say that you're going to need to move with all deliberate speed, that's a military term, all deliberate speed, that actually means slow. You are first and foremost going to need to gather everybody who is 100% lockstep with you. You are not looking to get some large infantry. You are looking for the special forces. You're looking for JSOC. You are looking for the SEALs. You are not looking for the 95%. You're looking for the top 2%. We're looking for the super elite
instead of a baseball bat.
You're looking for individuals who this one man has the abilities of 100. You're looking for somebody whose abilities have force multiplier. So you're looking for them. You're looking for the elite. That's what you're looking for first and foremost. You see, the problem we have right now is that this idea that we need to get numbers. Well, yes, certainly the majority of folk are messed up out here and we got that. But the problem isn't to gather all that majority together. You're going to have to clean and thin the herd. Why? Because otherwise you're just going to gather a whole group of useless individuals. As Marcus Garvey said, we can't take most black folk back to Africa as they are now because they were useless in America. And if we take them back to Africa, they'll be useless in Africa. That was Garvey. That was 100. Now that was 100 years ago. That isn't Jason Black talking. Garvey said that 100 years ago, and it's still true today. He had to tell black folk back then, we can't. I know you want to gather everybody up, but we can't do that. This was Garvey 100 years ago, brother. Not today. This is Garvey back when the majority of black families were married. Not today. This is Garvey back when you used to have a Black Wall Street. Not today. This is Garvey, the father of Pan-Africanism, as we commonly acknowledge him as the father of Pan-Africanism. He's telling you he saw the same damn thing 100 years ago that we see today now. So why in the world would I refute the wisdom of the ages when he's telling me, when he's told me, brother, I saw the same thing then that you're seeing now. And there were different social circumstances. Yeah, but you're going to face the exact same issue. Exact same issue. So you're going to have to face that first. You and me and us and we need to get serious about getting together with each other. You know why? Because that is how you lead. That's how you lead. You don't lead by sitting here and saying, well, I'm not sure. Let me see if I can get the masses together. Let me see if I can do that, because that's a red herring that we've been following for a while.
Right.
That's an issue we've been following for a while. So I don't want you to follow behind that red herring. I don't want you to do that. I want you to start understanding that black folk who in white society, what they do is they get together folks who are serious first. When you talk about your so-called secret societies and the Bilderberg and Skull and Bones, what is that? That's they're so-called fraternities.
Right.
Did they get together the masses?
No, they get together their elites.
So that's the first mistake in behavior that we have. That's the first mistake in behavior. I know you want to help the masses, but the best way for us to help the masses is to help ourselves first.
Right.
You can't help anyone if you are undisciplined. You can't help anyone if you are undisciplined. And the problem is that when black men, that upper 5% of black men, are trying to figure out how to make themselves more powerful outside of black society, as opposed to figuring what other groups do. Italians came to America and they were poor also, but the first thing that they did was they started rounding their people up. They started exercising their power within their society, within their group, within their neighborhoods. They focused their power there, sometimes at gunpoint.
Right.
And that was where they solidified power. They didn't have to worry about outsiders because they forced everyone to toe the line.
Same with the Koreans and other immigrant groups that came here.
Correct. We've been trying to figure out how
power
to do
within their community.
But we've been trying to figure out how to do something else, because the difference between us and Italians, Asians, Arabs, and everyone else is these other people were not chasing integration.
Right.
We've been trying to integrate our way to power now for a century. And despite all the race riots and bombings and massacres, in reality, a strong part of that mindset still permeates. We are still trying to integrate our way to power. As opposed to saying, let me, as Dr. John Henry Clark taught us, let me find the biggest group of black folk I can. Right. Malcolm X talked about this. Malcolm X talked about this when he said, if you're going to live in a black neighborhood, and you're going to be in a black neighborhood because white folk ain't going to let you in. If you're going to work with black people, and you will because white folk ain't going to let you in. So at the end of the day, you're going to end up working with us. You'll have no choice. Take a look at Tiger Woods. Try as he might. How did his adventure to break away from black folk and cross over, how'd that work out? Take a look at Serena Williams. How is her adventure outside of black society going? Halle Berry, how'd that work? Tay Diggs. Okay, you get Terrence Howard, brother. You know I'll be here forever. O.J. Simpson. We can go. You can name every person you want to. It reads like a perpetual list of failure. You're going to be here, whether you wish to be or not. You're not going to cross over, and the reason that you will not cross over is because you cannot cross over. Because there is a fundamental intrinsic power dynamic difference between us. It is no longer just about race. Race was a way of facilitating a power dynamic. They are members of the oppressor class. You are a member of the oppressed class. There is an intrinsic power difference and distinction between the two of you. You are not peers. The white man is above the black man and black woman. The white woman is above the black man and the black woman. So it doesn't matter who gets with whom. If they are white, they are in the superior position of power in every relationship, in every dynamic, at every level. You cannot exercise power as a subordinate, is what I'm trying to say. So this idea that I'm going to join the NBA, become a high income earner, and then go gain power outside of black society is a fool's errand, because you cannot exercise power as a subordinate. You can only exercise power over subordinates. You have no subordinates outside of black society, and that is just the brutal reality. However much money you make don't matter. Remember, Dr. Dre gave $30 million to the University of California, wound up getting pulled over by the police, yanked out at gunpoint, put in handcuffs because a random white man that nobody ever heard of accused him of having a gun in his car. And Dr. Dre, $30 million, wound up getting himself yanked out of the car by a random white man that nobody ever heard of. A random white man had enough power to do that. You don't have power outside of this society. If you're going to cultivate power, you're going to cultivate it over here. And that's it.
A quick question. Did you always feel... I never bought into this idea that the proximity to white folk meant that you were doing better in life. I've always felt, why bus our children out to white schools rather than fix these schools in the inner city? You know, I was bused in Chicago at one point, and I just could never understand. My school on the South Side seemed perfectly fine. I
will go further than that with you. The basic unit of any society is the man and the female. That is the basic building block of every society. You were taught that in school. The basic building block of every community is the home. It's each individual house. It's each individual family. Right. But a family begins with a man and a woman, not a woman and a bunch of bastard kids. So the most important decision that you will make as a black man is the quality of woman that you get with. And the most important decision that a woman will make is the quality of black man that she gets with. That will be the single most important decision that you two individuals make. So before we go any further, once again, brother, like I say, and I know what you're trying to do here, we're trying to fix the whole society. What I'm telling you is that as anathema as it might seem, as inconsequential as it might seem, the most powerful thing you could do is find 2 or 3 sensible black folk to work with. Now, what makes this powerful is if the top 5% of black folk who are in that position, if they acted in tandem and did the same thing. If you do your part and we hold ours. The reason why the system of white supremacy works is because each individual white person takes it as their responsibility to practice the code of conduct. There is no central command having to tap them on the shoulder and remind them. They adopt it as their responsibility. As black folk, you do the same thing.
Right.
As opposed to rewarding people who should not be rewarded. Make it that priority. So the most important priority you can have is the woman you are with and the men that you collaborate with. That's the most important decision that you can make. Everything else comes from there, because you're not gonna make $1 million by being friends with other people. Well, we're talking about school systems. problem.
Right.
The school system isn't even controlled by you. Jewish people don't complain about school systems. I've been to enough Jewish enclaves and enough Hasidic neighborhoods in America, from New York to Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to enough of them to see next to every synagogue is a school.
Got you. Yeah,
I've been
absolutely.
to enough of them to see that. These people have a fundamental difference. Well, guess what? They learned the lessons of World War II and Nazi Germany. Black folk are still working on learning the lessons of slavery. Jewish people are not trying to integrate their way to power. That's the difference. They're not trying to integrate their way to power. They are not looking for help outside of themselves. They are looking to themselves and only themselves. And then once they get on the same page, there they go. And by the way, they're a minority also. I mean, minority in the numerical sense. Jewish people are not Jewish people are not a majority anywhere on earth, with the sole exception of that plot of land that the Brits carved out for them in the Middle East and Palestine. That's the only place in the world. That is the only nation in the world where Jews constitute a numerical minority. Literally everywhere else on the planet, they are a incredibly small minority. And yet, with their identity intact, they don't have nearly the same amount of lack of influence that we do. We would be well served to take a look at that and see, okay, what are the differences? What are the differences between how they treat these situations? Because they don't have the numbers either. Oh, they do have a code of conduct. And by the way, if there is a practice, the exact term eludes me off the top of my head, but there's a practice. There was a Jewish rabbi, I want to say. He was in Montana. He made it his job to go around and to go find every Jewish home in Montana, and there's a scroll that the rabbis have, and to give it to each of the Jewish people in Montana. What I'm saying is, think about that for a few moments. Think about that.
Wow.
I want you to think about that. That's not a government program. That isn't. That is a practice. In New York City, there is a wire that actually encompasses a large part of New York, as a matter of fact, which is part of the Jewish religion up there. Look it up for yourselves. There's a wire that's actually on the damn telephone poles. That's part of their religion. It categorizes the neighborhood. It's not just a couple of streets either. It's a big long one. And it's actually sanctioned by the city for it to be there. Yeah, look it up for yourselves. Do not believe me. My folks in New York City, some of them may know about that. There's actually a wire up there. I'm serious, it is a literal physical wire that is used. It has religious significance, and it's for the purposes of marking this specific region. And I mean, it's a region. It's not just one or two streets. It's a large area. Don't believe me. Google it for yourselves. So what I'm saying is that these other folk take it as their job to keep that in mind and to keep everybody on code. When they get some money, they use that to protect the integrity of who they are. They don't use it to go move out to the suburbs and divorce themselves from it. And oh yeah, by the way, you are going to toe the line. Now that's one more thing. By the way, you're going to toe the line.
What do you mean?
They're correct. In the chat room, you're correct. That wire is like for the Sabbath. The wire is for like the Sabbath, as a matter of fact. I do believe that wire is for the Sabbath. As a matter of fact, you all can Google it for yourselves. If I remember correctly, like I said, in the chat room, I think what they're saying is correct. They said Saturday, but I think what they're saying is got something to do with the Sabbath. I don't live in New York, and I only read about it like once or twice. What, the Eruv?
I've never paid attention to it.
Yeah, like I said, I don't live in New York. They said this is the Eruv. I don't live in New York like that. I only read about it like once or twice. But there's just so much of it. But just understand, in these other neighborhoods, you will toe the line. You don't get to. There's no dissension about it.
Oh, okay.
There's no dissension about that. So this is what I meant by individuality. If you're Latino in California, do you get to be an individual? I don't think so. I don't think so. I wish you, I said this before, I wish you would be a Latina with your black boyfriend and walk by a Mexican restaurant to go to a soul food restaurant. I wish you'd try it. I wish you'd try it. Try that and see how that goes down. Try it and see how it happens. I wish you would be an Asian chick and walk by Chinatown, to go up to Harlem. I wish you'd try it. See how it goes. If they let you back into Chinatown, you might come back and all the doors be locked. What I'm saying is, that type of power isn't instituted by masses. Code of conduct doesn't come from the masses. It comes from the top and is adopted by the masses. But the top has to have power for that. Which is why it
to
is
disseminate the message.
Well, to enforce discipline. Discipline. Principles come from individuals or small groups. Religions are started by one or two people. It's not started by hundreds of people talking about, hey, we all agree. It's one guy who got together a dozen. That dozen got together 100. And from there, and there has to be an enforcement mechanism. As black men, we've been taught that we can't do that. And other groups of people understand, if I don't get together with one or two guys and make this work, it's not going to happen. So white men understand you don't get money so you can go buy a Bentley and ball out. And the first thing they do when they get money, they start controlling the politics of their neighborhood. They start controlling the schools. They start controlling the billboards, the media. When you go to New York City, you go into any Jewish deli. I've been in Jewish delis. I've been in Jewish pizza shops. I've been in Jewish bakeries. And on the TV, they got cable TV channels that are playing specifically Jewish and Hebrew programming. My folks in New York City know I'm telling the truth. Up there, if you ever been to New York City, especially in Brooklyn, well, I'm sorry, you're from up north, but you know what I'm talking about down there in Brooklyn, especially in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, no question.
When you go into any of the Jewish delis or whatever, they got their Jewish newspapers. Now I'm not even talking about Haaretz or the Forward. I'm not even talking about the ones that have national advertising. I'm talking about some stuff that you ain't never heard of before. They got their Jewish newspapers. They got some Jewish programming playing on the TV you never heard of before from some place you never seen. But the cable TV networks make that one channel available to them. The minority of the population, y'all still trying to get the black channel up there, and the Jews got foreign programming on their cable TV. So what does that tell you? That tells you that they understand these are things that we have to control, and you don't get a say in the matter. As black people, this idea, let me tell you something right now. You don't get the freedom to rebel against the group. You don't have that freedom. And intelligent black society is not going to come into its own until we have the masses of thoughts and their bastard brood offspring afraid of us. Let me just say this again, because I'm going to wrap up tonight here, but let me say this in no uncertain terms. We are not going to come into our own. We are not going to be able to seriously change the dynamic until the thoughts, the hoes, and their bastard brood are afraid of us. And as a matter of fact, until they are more afraid of us than they are the white supremacists.
Well, do you mean afraid of us or inspired by us?
I mean afraid.
I feel that's where, if you want to talk about for instance, the talented 10th, you understand that reference.
Brother, what I'm going to, I am going to say afraid.
Is always that we would inspire.
Let's be very clear. We don't talk over the host.
Each one teach one.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Let's be very, sir, you're not having you're having no trouble hearing me. Pump your brakes. I am going to say this again. They need to be afraid. I don't care how you define afraid, and I don't care to go into details of it. However you want to define afraid. But we will not come into our own, and we will not be able to seriously change the dynamic until they are afraid of us. More afraid of us than they are of the white supremacists. And that's it. So long as they are more afraid of something other than us, we're not really going to be able to change that dynamic. because it won't be able to be changed. As long as they think they've got the market cornered, as long as they think they've got someone they can run to, as long as they think they can wild out and we're going to be the ones who take off running. See, therein lies the problem. I have always told you all the most dangerous thing in the world is an intelligent black man who's angry and has you on his mind. Let me be very clear. The most dangerous thing in this world is an intelligent black man who is angry and has got you, no matter who you may be. If you're on his mind and he's angry and he's intelligent, watch out. This can go real bad. And we will not come into our own until that happens. But let's also be very, very clear. Single mothers, this idea that these single mother hood rat slutty hoes have created enclaves of incredibly sharp, bright, disciplined individuals. Go ask the essays in the California prison system how organized the black inmates are. Go ask them. There's not that situation. These women do not raise all these. Their boys are just these sharp bulbs. Their kids are raised to be idiots. They're soft. They're soggy. They're temperamental. The only real issue is the dominant society arms them. Well, now that you know that, that's where you're supposed to be taking preemptive action on that. But just to be very, very clear, we're not supposed to be afraid of them. And we have allowed our garbage to accumulate to a point that those bastards actually got us sitting around twiddling our thumbs and biting our fingernails, talking about, what can we do? Whoa, it's supposed to be the other way around. And it certainly is. When white folk want to gentrify a neighborhood, it certainly turns into that. What I'm saying is that that's never supposed to be the case. That's never supposed to be the case. Never at all. But the problem is where they do have us beat is hoes at least travel in packs. Now, that unfortunately is where they do have us beat. If you want to know what it is that really allows them to do what they do, hoes travel in packs. They will get together as a group. They understand there's strength in numbers. Even if your numbers are dumb, even if your numbers are broke, even if your numbers are illiterate, there's strength in numbers. At least we can help each other bolster and reinforce our stupidity. At least we can do that. At least we outnumber you. So they understand that. It's going to be up to you and me and us and we to get it in our heads that, well, you know what? We might not have your numbers, but we outnumber you in power, wealth, and influence. We certainly outnumber you in intelligence. When we start seeing it the same way, when we start looking at it the same way, things will change. Things will change. But we got to move like that. See, let me tell you something. I have organized enough of these things around the country over the last decade here. There's a reason why I see things differently in that regard. I see it differently. I've had screenings. I've had meetings. I've gotten together hundreds and hundreds of black folk in a single place. Let me tell you something, brother. When we hold a screening in New York City, holding the screening right there in Manhattan, we shut the whole damn thing down. Whole damn thing down. Why? White folk were, the block was cleared. They didn't have anything to say. The block was cleared. And the SVA Theater, there's a reason for that. Los Angeles, same thing. Atlanta, same thing. Nobody was shooting. Nobody was fighting. Nobody was acting a fool. There was no lack of discipline. Yeah, because team reflects leadership. And when you have solid leadership that has made it very clear this is what it is, and then that solid leadership appoints solid lieutenants to oversee it, and then make sure there's an enforcement mechanism in place, it runs like it's supposed to. Y'all are not accustomed to seeing that where black folk are concerned, because usually when they get together up there and whatnot, it's usually them acting the fool. It doesn't work that way when we put something together. And I can do it as many times as you would like. It will be the same thing every time. Every time. So before you start looking at the masses and what can we do about the school system and what can we do about this section of town over here and whatnot, you're powerless because as an individual, you lack resources and you're not getting together with other individuals. You're not getting your resources together, and so you can get together with other people who have resources, because people with resources can't take you seriously if you don't have any. You're just a guy. You're just a guy with complaints.
Right.
And the bastard baby makers understand this, and they don't fear you. There's nothing to fear. They know you don't have anything. Now, if they see you do got something, things go differently. What they're counting on is that, and this is the way that they think, by the way, hood rats are counting on the idea that affluent black people just don't want no trouble. That they are soft, that they are weak, that they are apathetic, that they are preoccupied, and that they just don't want no trouble. And that if they are willing to be more belligerent and loud than we are, then they can make us back down every time. That's the difference. We show them enough times that that's not going to occur. Katie barred the door. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. And there's only so much detail I'll go into about those things, but you get the idea. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here now. We've been going on for almost 4 hours, so we definitely give you far more than anybody else does out there. Brothers and sisters from around the world, I held tonight's program because we need to have a really honest, heartfelt discussion about exactly what's going on and exactly why it matters. And unfortunately, we have allowed the savages to overrun the civilized because black people who have been affluent and been disciplined have been breathing their own air for so long and have gotten complacent on the throne and have gotten preoccupied and distracted and diverted out with other things. That is what we've done. And we got to be honest about that. With everything else we're talking about, we got to hold this L that we've been allowing ourselves to just worry about us. Well, let me get my car and let me get my house, and then let me see if I can just sequester myself off from the rest of society. That's a fool's errand. It doesn't work. It's never worked. It isn't working. You can rise no higher than your people. You're either going to rise together or you will sink together, or you can sink as individuals. You can do that too. But there isn't some island where you can retreat to and you'll be all right. You don't have to look for this fight. This fight's looking for you, and you don't have to join it. This fight is going to draft you, whether you wish to be a part of it or not. You have no say in the matter. You don't have a choice. You're going to go along and fight, or you're going to go along and flee. But that's going to be where you're going to be. I will tell you, however, as a black man, I demand to be respected. I owe that to my fathers and my mothers, and I owe that to the dead and the unborn. Civilization wasn't built by the savages, and I'll be damned if we're going to surrender it. Not on my watch. If you are new here to the business, welcome to the program that laid the foundation upon which all of your red pill, MGTOW, high-value posers, alpha male wannabes, and other sycophants have stolen, robbed, and ripped off everything that they say. All the things they're going to tell you next week, you can hear it here tonight. Don't worry, they'll repackage it next week and gleefully mess it all up, and then we'll have to come back here and come straighten it out. If you're not a member of our Patreon, by the way, my patrons are looking at the chat room tonight talking about, yeah, Jason, we did all this weeks ago. So glad you let them all in on it. We covered all this weeks ago, as a matter of fact. So if you're not a member of our Patreon, especially for our one-on-one discussions over there, you're missing a whole lot. A whole bunch of folks were asking questions in the chat room tonight. Look, you go over there, that's where we put things together, that's where it goes down. We get more time, we deal with folk one-on-one. We don't have a lot of distractions going on, so we get to really focus on what's happening there. There's a reason why people love it and join it, so the link is in the description of the video. Definitely go ahead and check that out if you're not a member already. More content coming over there. Get your Weight Up Wednesday happening. A couple of folks want to talk to me about a few things as well, so that's coming as well. It is not a defeated situation. We are not defeated. We need to take proper stock and inventory of what the situation actually is. The team sucks. Black women right now are pulling up the rear. They are in bad, dire straits. They got themselves into a hell of a mess. The idea that you could collaborate with the dominant society against black society and you would have a place carved out for you where you'd be protected has gone belly up and it's blown up in their faces. Unfortunately, it's affected everybody else. What are we going to do about it? We are going to stop the train is what we are going to do. The first thing that you have to do in order to fix a problem is face the problem. You must admit that there is a problem. You must speak to it plainly. You must speak to it in no uncertain terms. You have to talk about it bluntly. It can be painful to say. It can be difficult to acknowledge, but you must first state the situation, how bad it really is, articulate the severity of what it really is, and then you can move to the next step. Then you can move on to what do you do next. But you must first acknowledge how much of a predicament are you really in? How bad has it really gotten? And then we can prescribe the proper dosage of medication and corrective action. I took to the road to go document this so that you all can see firsthand how severe the situation really is. Now you have an idea of how severe the solution needs to be. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Business. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, Mr. Jason Black. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, handle your business. Understand what is your business and handle your business. Because if we don't, believe me, you might go on vacation somewhere, look out the window, and then find out your business is out there handling you.